Good morning, everybody. This is the Oskar Quentin debate live stream where people on TikTok live call in and we discuss politics and really whatever I feel like allowing. It's my show. If you're watching this after the fact on YouTube, you can find a pinned comment just below the video that will tell you when the first call starts. And if you want to just skip around to when the debate calls start, there are links in the description. People have not been aware of that. I don't always get them up very quickly. Sometimes it takes me a day or two to get through the episodes, so sorry if you're watching right after this was recorded. But the show happens every day from 10 to 12 Central Time. These next 4 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, because today is Sunday, the next 4 days it's going to be 1 p.m. Central Time, because I'm wrapping up my job. I quit my day job to run this show full time, and I had a few days left on the schedule. Didn't want to fuck over my coworkers, so gonna go to work 4 more times and then I'm done. And then we can talk about what my job is and how I feel about leaving it to do this instead. Good morning, Mama Avery. All right, that's good. Always appreciate Mama Avery saying hi on the YouTube chat, so I know that's working because OBS doesn't give me the clearest indication that the stream is publicly viewable, but oh, look at that. We've already got a caller. Never mind all the banter. I'll say hi to everybody else in a moment. We're gonna accept a call from Watchdogs, who I think I've spoken to before. How old are you?
68. How you doing?
Doing all right. Are you a Trump supporter?
Hell yeah.
I believe we've spoken. Ooh, I think I left my house speakers on. Let me turn those down so there's no echo for everybody. There we go. Yeah, so I think we've spoken before. You can remind me what we've talked about before, or we can just start something new if you want.
I scan through these things occasionally, killing time, so I couldn't tell you. You look familiar, but I don't know if I've talked to you.
It's all a blur. I'm in the same spot. I'm glad you're not offended.
Yeah, hell, who knows?
Some people get very offended when I don't remember them, and I'm just like, I'm sorry, I do this 2 hours a day.
Hell no.
Sure. Why do you support Trump?
Well, the alternative to me was ridiculous.
Okay.
That's part of the issue.
Why do you
There's
think
no
that?
way I was going to vote for Harris. I didn't agree with her philosophies.
Okay, so you have philosophical differences with Kamala Harris. So instead of electing her, you elected a convicted felon who has been found civilly liable of a crime that most people consider to be a rape.
Yes, I'd rather vote for him than her.
Right. Explain yourself. What did she do that was so bad? What?
Well, probably the thing that really was the icing on the cake, if you will, or the nail in the coffin, was when she said she was going to continue what Biden was doing, and I didn't agree with Biden either. So I'm like, I didn't want a continuation of that insanity.
Right. I can ask the same questions, though. Like, you elected a rapist to be president, and I'm just not understanding what exactly was going so wrong with the Biden administration and Kamala Harris's plan to continue Biden's policies in his place. What was so bad about that made it make sense to elect a literal, like, convicted fraudster to run the country?
Now, was he convicted fraudster or convicted rapist? Was he convicted as rape?
He wasn't convicted of rape because the statute of limitations had expired.
So then why are you calling him a rapist if he wasn't convicted of rape?
Because he raped somebody. That's what makes him a rapist. I don't care about whether or not a person gets convicted. If you saw me raping your daughter in an alleyway, I don't think that you would like people saying that I'm not a rapist if I got away with it. If by some technicality got away with it.
Raping someone? Did someone see him raping someone?
I was just pointing out that a person doesn't have to be convicted of rape to be a rapist. You do recognize that, right?
No, I don't recognize that.
So do you understand that most rapes go unconvicted, right?
No, I don't understand it. If you're caught and you get convicted, if you're caught doing it, you get convicted, yeah.
Okay, but I think that a person, if I came to your home, wherever you are right now, if I kicked the door in and I pulled your pants down and I shoved something up inside you without your permission and then I ran away, but you didn't get a good look at my face, you didn't get my name, and I just went back to my life and nobody ever caught me, would you say that it's fair to say that I'm a rapist walking free after doing that?
You are, but you're not a convicted rapist.
I never said Trump was a convicted rapist. I said that he was a rapist. So you do recognize it's possible for him to be a rapist without getting convicted, correct?
Not in our system of judicial.
About 15 seconds ago, I gave you an example in which I did something very bad to you, and you said in that example, I would be a rapist walking free. So you recognize the logical possibility of Trump being a rapist, even though he hasn't been convicted of the criminal charge, rape.
That's not how our system works.
That's not an answer to my question. My question is, you a moment ago recognized that a person can be a rapist without being convicted of that crime. Do you recognize that it is a logical possibility that Donald Trump is such a person, regardless of the specific facts of the matter? It's physically possible for him to be a rapist without having been convicted.
It's physically possible for you to be a murderer right now, because I don't know. You could have murdered someone.
Murder is also a crime that we don't always catch the perpetrator of, and the people who've perpetrated murders.
But I'm not going to accuse you of being a murderer right now because I don't know you. I don't.
Right. You might not. You might have good. See, I'm just trying to do this one step at a time, right? So like you started by getting upset by me calling Donald Trump a rapist because he wasn't convicted. So can we just make? Well, okay, you took issue with it. And the issue that you took with it, I think we have stamped out, because I think, if I'm following the conversation correctly, we're now at a point where you do recognize that saying that somebody hasn't been convicted is not really a good rebuttal to an accusation that they're a rapist. Would you say that that's fair?
There's an old Italian saying, okay, if you commit a crime and no one is there to witness it, it never happened.
Well, I think I disagree with that. I think I disagree with that old Italian saying, and I don't think it's an answer to my question. I just really want to make sure I'm tracking the conversation properly, because there's these two problems we have. We have the question of whether or not a person can be a rapist without being convicted of it, and then once we establish that such a person can exist, separately, we can talk about whether or not Trump is one such person. But you're just really not letting me hammer it down. True or false? A person can be a rapist without being convicted of rape.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Because you're not caught.
Yeah, but you're still a rapist, even if you're not caught, is what I'm saying.
Of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Great. We got that hammered out. I still think that Donald Trump is a rapist. I think there's good evidence of that.
And that's your opinion. But the bottom line is see, I didn't vote for him based on accusations against him. You can be accused of anything. It doesn't mean that you're guilty of something.
You're accusing Biden of Harris of running a platform that's of greater danger to the country than Donald Trump. This is all accusations. We're in a show where we talk about what we think is happening out in the world, and I think that a rapist is running the country. And you can just hand wave it away and say it's my opinion because there isn't a conviction, even though you recognize it's possible for a person to have sufficient evidence that it makes sense for them to believe a person to be a rapist, regardless of what the court says. But you're just like letting that wishy-washy asterisk let Trump get away with it as though it's a nuclear topic that we can't even potentially discuss reasonably because he hasn't been convicted. Do you think that no reasonable voting people can discuss the possible crimes committed by a political candidate if they haven't been convicted? Do you think the topic is just off limits?
No, it's not off limits, but it doesn't determine whether I vote for someone. The reason I didn't vote for Biden either is because I didn't like his politics.
Sounds like an opinion.
That's what exactly. We vote for people based on our opinion of them, of course.
Right, and it's my opinion that Donald Trump is a rapist. I think that that's accurate to say. I recognize that it's not as airtight as certain other accusations due to just the fact that I wasn't in the room physically when he raped E. Jean Carroll. But you now have your opinions about Harris. If we're so are we allowed to use our opinions in this conversation or not? Because it's a talk show. You have your opinions.
You're allowed to use your opinions when you vote for someone. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. I'm also allowed to use my opinions when I try to share my opinions with other people and say, in my opinion, it's fucking foolish to be so obsessed with some cult of personality that you elect a fraudster, rapist president instead of somebody, Harris, who you still haven't actually demonstrated to me was going to be any kind of problem for the country. You haven't actually told me why it's your opinion that she'd be so bad. You just said you brought it back to Biden. You kicked the can a little bit. You didn't like Biden. Why? Like what? Why is it worth risking having a rapist in the Oval Office? Because I think you can recognize Trump is more likely to be a rapist than any other random person walking down the street, right?
No.
That's absurd. We could talk about that. We have two directions here. Do you want to talk about why you think Biden was bad and Harris was going to be bad because she wanted to support his platform? Or do you want to talk about the fact that I think that Trump is a rapist?
Let's talk about the platform with her. Okay, the reason I didn't vote for her is because, one, I'm not a fan of, and she is, I'm not a fan of men in women's sports. I'm not a fan of AB. I don't agree with those.
Abortion? So you can say I appreciate you trying to be careful, but you can say abortion on my show if that's what you're trying to say.
Okay, well, that's what I was trying to say. I want to respect your show.
I do genuinely appreciate you being careful. A lot of hosts are very strict. I'm far less strict than most hosts. There are certain things we cannot say at all on the show due to TikTok TOS, and I will let you know if you're breaking any rules. But I do thank you for that. But you can say abortion.
Yeah, So philosophically, I don't agree with those, and therefore I'm going to agree and vote for someone that aligns with my belief system.
Okay. How many people do you think are affected by trans people being in sports?
There shouldn't even be one. There shouldn't even be one.
Okay, I mean, but there's 350 million Americans. So if you get so upset about one thing happening, it's going to distract you from big issues that are affecting lots of people. So you do recognize that in terms of triaging how we handle politics, if you find something to be very upsetting, you know, I can give you an example of something terrible and horrible happening, but it's just one example, and there's 350 million Americans. We're talking about the president. We're not talking about a local sheriff who's going to enforce one particular instance of what happening.
But this is what happens. Okay, I'm old enough where I was born in 1958, so I've been through the 60s and 70s and 80s. Back then, we LGB, whatever you want to call them, the alphabet people, they were private. And they had their thing going, and nobody really cared about it.
I'm actually just going to insist that you answer my question. Approximately how many people in this country do you think are affected by trans individuals participating in sports?
Not now, but if we let it go, it would become normal, just like it's normalized now. Okay,
how many people do you think that would be?
Thousands of them.
Okay, thousands. That's big. Do you know, like, if we talk about the number 1,000, what percentage of people in the country is that?
Obviously, a small percentage, but if you have a
I'll do the math because I don't feel like trying to count the zeros in my head while talking to you. But if we take the number 350 million,
if you have a daughter that's in sports, would you appreciate
for every 1,000 people
against the male?
You're moving a little too fast. Let's just talk about like the incidents of these things.
It's progression. It's a conversation.
Okay, so what we end up with, let me multiply that by 100. Well, it's too fast for us to pin down how we actually feel about these individual things. Like, you have lots of big feelings, and I want to talk about them, but I'd like to talk about them one at a time. So, and right now, the thing I'm concerned about is how many people are affected by this issue, because we're talking about federal policy, and we're talking about how important something is for voting for the president. We're not talking about somebody who's on the school board who's maybe going to make some rules about how track and field works at your daughter's high school, who's going to really directly influence this problem you really care about. We're talking about the president. So the percentage we get for every 1,000 people who are affected by this is 0.0028. 0.00289 or 29 if I want to round properly. So it's a truly minuscule number of people. This is like getting struck by lightning, like, possibly. Now, I actually think the number would be bigger. I think it'd be more than just 1,000, but that's the percentage of people you'd cover for every 1,000 who interact with a trans athlete in the court. I mean, I don't even know how really a person would be affected by a trans athlete other than maybe being on a team that plays against them or something like that. We could kind of define how that works. But my point is, I think that this is a really, really small social issue.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's the problem with it. If you let it slide, that number is going to change.
Do you think that...
We don't want it to get to the point where a majority of Americans are okay with males.
I have a question.
Participating in female sports.
Do you think that issues of public policy affect how many trans people there are?
Publicly, yeah.
Well, no.
The ones that come out. There's a lot of them that
Sure. Sounds like you'd prefer they stay in the closet, but that's not my question. How many of them are there, and do you believe that I mean, we don't know exactly how many there are, obviously, but do you think that number is going to be affected by whether or not Kamala Harris or Trump becomes president, if we're speaking from a perspective of 2 years ago, because we're still talking about Biden-Harris for some fucking reason?
Maybe not, because people are weird these days.
Okay, I don't think it's because people are weird these days. It's because the people who study transgenderism, this is also true of homosexuality, by the way. So both these, really all that LGBTQIA plus stuff, it just seems that that there isn't really an effect on how much that happens in the world. It's just really an effect of how we handle it. We're not going to increase the number of trans people by letting trans people play in sports. I'm asking if you understand that very basic statement.
Well, I know one thing for sure. In my lifetime, the trans people have become more and more outspoken. They're organized.
Right. And that was the thing you said earlier about them coming out of the closet. Yes, they are more. You see them more. You see them more. But I really want, like, we did this earlier where I think we actually agree on what I'm saying here. I just really need it hammered down so that it doesn't come up again in like 5 minutes as a response to something else. You do recognize that people are trans or not. That's not their choice. That's just something the doctors seem to understand is like homosexuality, where you either are or aren't homosexual. You either are or aren't a transgender person. You do recognize that issues of policy don't actually affect how common this is. It might affect how much you see it. It might affect how much society accepts it. And we can move on to talk about that if you recognize that we're not going to start creating more trans people by having more accepting policies about them. It's important you understand that.
It is a choice. It is a choice. You're not born trans.
Okay. So that I disagree with. I don't think that that's accurate.
What about cross-dressers? Are you a born cross-dresser? Because there's people that are cross-dressers.
Cross-dressing is a choice. That's actually the distinction generally. If I'm going to explain it like I'm 5, it's more nuanced than this. So I'm actually probably going to upset some trans people and some cross-dressers by putting it this way. But if it is a choice, that's cross-dressing. If it's not a choice, then we call it trans. That's roughly the difference.
Okay, so we agree on that.
I've cross-dressed. I'm a theater kid. I've worn a dress in my life. On that day, I was a cross-dresser. I'm not super into it. I don't do drag shows. It's not my flavor of performance art. I'm a musician. But I could change my mind. I could say, you know what, I want to do some drag shows. I want to get silly with the gals and do a drag show. And that could be fun. And that would be a choice. But that's not how being a trans person works.
Yeah, see, for people that aren't trans, okay, because I'm not, I'm heterosexual, it's impossible for me to relate to them. I couldn't do it.
I agree. I have a really hard time relating with trans people. Just in terms of I know what that's like kind of way, the empathy thing. I kind of have to use my noodle and think about, there's good evidence that what they're going through is very, very, very serious and very real. And I believe experts, but it's kind of the sort of thing where because gender is this social construct and I'm super secure in who I am, I don't care what gender anybody thinks I am. I don't care what anybody calls me, but I look down when I'm not wearing clothes and I think, yeah, that looks right. Happy with that. I don't know what it's like to feel a different way, but I can tell from reading about people who feel a different way that it sucks. It's really hard to deal with, and society makes it way harder for no good reason.
Look, I'm okay with LGBT. I really am. I have absolutely no problem what you do in your bedroom or
I disagree.
Your lifestyle.
I disagree with what you just said. I do think you have a problem with LGBTQIA+.
No, I don't. I have a problem with them entering into female bathrooms. I have a problem with them entering into female sports. Other than that, do your thing, man.
I mean, we're kind of moving all over the place here, but I am just enjoying.
Not because. Do you think that a male and a female are equal in terms of power, physical power?
I'm gonna sidestep that question. We can maybe get to it in a moment. I just want to say hello to Raven, who's joined the panel. Hello, Raven.
Hi. How are you?
Oh, just another show starting off with somebody who has got big feelings about stuff they don't understand.
Yeah, I was hoping to not be on the show today, but I feel like trans issues always best to have a trans person in the conversation.
Thank you for your service. Did you choose to be trans, Raven?
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
I actually tried very hard to choose not to be trans.
Can you answer, what's the difference between trans and gay? I don't really understand the difference.
One is a sexual preference in accordance to who, somebody else who you're attracted to outside of yourself, whereas being trans is a gender identity, which is an inward realization.
So are you attracted to the same sex?
I'm technically pansexual, so I'm attracted to people. People are hot.
Oh, so you're bisexual then?
I just said pansexual.
Well, what's the difference?
I think, without getting super bogged down in it, I think to answer your question, the behavior...
I do use the term bisexual as well.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, I think bisexual and pansexual, there's very, very minute differences, and it is borderline semantics.
For the sake of this conversation, close enough. Bisexual, I would say.
But you said you're indicating that they are different. In what way would they be different?
What, bi and pan?
Yeah, what's the difference between the two of those?
As a pansexual, the gender is not the determining factor of attraction. It's a secondary, it's just not relevant. You just see a person and you say whether they're hot or not. Bisexual is a specific attraction based on two or more genders.
To give you like a very minutia level example that maybe will make you understand, a lot of bisexual people are only interested in cis people. That's something that's pretty common, where you'll have a person who is interested in men or women, but only cisgender men or women who are not trans. Whereas
another common one is bisexual is attracted to just not one of the two binaries, so not cis men.
Yeah, so these are just kind of like little categorical minutia type things that I just don't think are super important to the scope of this conversation.
It's only relevant if you truly do understand all of this at a deeper level than you do at the moment, which I'm not trying to be, offhanded at you. You just
it's just because it really isn't
we're
all
talking
that
college level when we're trying to really get to know.
Yeah, these are the sorts of labels a person might use when they're trying to figure out, oh, is my friend a good match? Should I set them up on a date with this person? And if they said they were pan versus bi versus something else, that might be useful for this sort of minutia, but it's not. Yeah, we're still in grade school level. I like that analogy, Raven.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, so talking about the trans issue and the choice of being trans, I tried very hard not to be trans. I spent 30 years as a man, trying very hard to fit in as a man. And every time I tried to express masculinely, it felt disgusting in my stomach. And I had 30 years of not understanding why, because I didn't really understand trans people. So I spent a long time trying to express as a man and find joy as a man, and it just couldn't. It didn't happen. I didn't feel joy for almost 30 years.
Were you doing it as a homosexual male or as a heterosexual man?
I was a straight man. I was very much a cishet man for about 29 years, if we're being specific.
It's got to be a crazy lifestyle. I couldn't imagine going through life struggling with my sexuality, because that's like not.
I didn't really struggle with my sexuality because I wasn't attracted to men until I was feminine, because in a masculine on masculine relationship, there is no space for the femininity that I was looking for.
It's still a struggle, though. I can't imagine having that kind of a struggle. Holy shit.
It was. For me, for the 29 years of my life, the struggle was, why can't I feel joy? And so I just physically was unable to feel joy. I thought it was fake. I thought it was a thing.
Are you feeling joy now?
Absolutely. I am very filled with joy.
Well, then good for you. That's the whole idea.
That I live with joy.
Good for you. You got to figure out a way to be happy in this world. I don't give a shit how you do it. As long as you're not hurting.
It sounds like you do.
Wait, yeah,
hold on.
You do. That's the crux of it, because the whole conversation is exactly about the ways in which trans people achieve happiness in their life, and there's certain things that you take issue with, and that's kind of the rub of the matter here, is that society makes it harder than it needs to be, because unfortunately, by the nature of what being trans is, for a lot of people, it's going to be a challenge, even if society was perfectly accepting. Going through the body changes that some people choose to go through with surgeries or hormone therapy and things like that, that's a big ordeal to go through, and it's scary and difficult. And you and I were just talking about how we have a hard time relating with navigating that because we're not wearing those shoes. So my thing is that these are people who suffer unnecessarily, because it's not fair to have to deal with something that might cause that type of suffering. So I think we should try to engineer a society that is accepting of those people and reduces that suffering without undue cost to others. And you think that the cost to others is great enough that we should tell these people to go fuck themselves.
Well, let me ask you something. As a trans person, okay, when you started being a trans, okay, because
don't say trans. That's derogatory. Say a trans person.
Well, a trans person, okay. When you decided to be that, did you start going into female bathrooms? And if so, did you feel weird at first, or was it natural for you?
So I understand what you're saying, and a lot of trans people do understand that the first year of the transition is the most dangerous year of their transition. And a lot of us understand that a lot of us are male presenting for the first, 6 months at least. And I did go into male restrooms at that time, just mostly for my safety. I believe in a society where we have just gender neutral bathrooms, but that's a little bit of a moot point because that's not where we are. And that's not relevant to the current conversation. But yes, a lot of trans people do understand that they look, like a male, like a man for the first year or so of their transition and do their best to act accordingly.
So did you feel weird going into a female bathroom at first?
The only reason it felt at all weird was for my safety. I'm a veteran that struggles with hypervigilance. And one of those, hypervigilance, and hyperawareness. So both of those combined are kind of stressful.
How do you
So
feel
when I-
about how do you feel
Can
about
I finish my
men?
point?
How do you
Can I
feel
finish
about
my
men
point? Can I finish my
participating?
point?
No,
Oh, I'm
this is-
sorry. I
my
thought you were
point.
done.
Yeah, Watchdogs, it's kind of the same thing you were doing with me. We just got to stay on one thing a little bit longer. It's better for the
Yes,
show. It's
and
better for
so-
everybody's understanding of all of our perspectives, including yours, Watchdogs.
Even to this day, when I go to the bathrooms, I have to be constantly looking over my shoulder to make sure that somebody's not looking at me a little too long or a little too hard, and might cause a safety issue for me. I pretty much do 100% pass, but I still have to keep an eye out for my safety because trans people do get murdered at a higher rate than anybody, than most other people.
Have you ever been approached?
No, I've actually passed pretty well since the beginning of my transition.
Okay.
So
How do you-
I have had that privilege.
How do you feel about females or males participating in female sports? Are you okay with that?
I absolutely am, because what do they call it? Co-ed sports already exists for a lot of sports, so clearly there's not that big of a safety discrepancy.
What about
And
boxing?
You're right. In the sports
Wrestling.
like that, I do think that it is valid to do more research to see how long somebody has to be on testosterone before they do have an advantage. Because, like I said, I
On
transitioned
that-
at 30. I transitioned at 30. Testosterone did leave a permanent scar on me. I am a little bit stronger on average than your average female, but that does not mean that there are no females that are stronger than me and couldn't whoop my ass.
You went to boot camp, Raven. I'm pretty sure you'd kick my ass if we got in a fight.
Oh, absolutely. But that's
and
just because I know how to fight.
Yeah, I don't, and I'm not even the tiniest guy. But anyway, generally, to answer the sports thing, I just want to add on to what Raven said. I recognize you brought up an example of a sport where it matters a lot. Boxing. There's sports where it maybe doesn't matter so much, like golf. Non-contact sports. It's not going to be as big an issue,
yeah.
or something like shuffleboard, where it's like there might not even really be a difference at all.
No contact.
Yeah. I recognize that there's a good reason why we generally do divide the sports into two teams. I think our argument isn't against that. It's just that I think that gender's a better thing to go by than chromosomes, because you want it to be chromosomes, which covers almost everybody, because it's pretty rare, the exceptions to people who fit in the category male or female when it comes to what chromosomes they have. And for the most part, that covers everybody, because most people are cisgender. Most people align with the chromosomes that they have in terms of their gender identity and what society expects of them. But I think that when we actually look with an educated lens at the exceptions here, at the people who maybe would be put on a different team if we're following me and Raven's rules instead of your rules, what you'll find is that they just aren't people who are actually going to be a problem, because injuries happen in sport. And then the big concern here is that people who have male chromosomes who are trans women are going to clobber the other women on the women's team. But we just don't actually see that happening. And one of the big reasons was alluded to earlier in this conversation, which is that the treatments that people go through really get rid of whatever on average advantage one of the biological sexes has over the other. And there are cases, individual case-by-case examples that you can find where that maybe wouldn't be the case. I don't think it would be appropriate for a boxer to say, to realize in the way that Raven has in her life that they're trans and say, oh, figured it out with my therapist, I'm trans, I'm going to get started on hormone therapy and take this new path in my life. Hey, I'm going to be, by the way, switching leagues, I'm now boxing on with women. No, that wouldn't be appropriate, because this is a person who's had a biologically normal on average body as a male who has testosterone, and that's the reason we divide men and women in boxing. So that would be a counterexample where maybe in boxing we need stricter rules about exactly what a person has to go through. You might need a lengthier doctor's note to get that league switch versus something like shuffleboard or golf, where maybe it probably shouldn't be that hard. You see how it's a little nuanced, but at the end of the day, it's I'm seeking the same type of harm reduction that we are seeking by dividing the sports in the first place. I'm just willing to do it with a more curious, open mind than just being like chromosomes.
Another important distinction is that boxing also has weight classes for a reason.
Well, yeah, we find that the more serious these issues of physical safety are, the more, or like one-sidedness based on physicality in general, the more divisions you find in the sports. That's why there's weight classes in combat sports. Does all that make sense to you, Watchdogs? I don't want to steamroll too long without checking in with you.
No, I appreciate your opinion, but the bottom line is like there's other sports like football. Okay, do you think a female can end up in the NFL and be productive? I'm talking about on the line.
I will answer that
I had
specifically.
a gym teacher in
Not a
5th grade
field goal
that played in women's football league, and
What's that?
she was massive. She was huge.
I just gave an example. Sorry, Raven. I just want to like go right back to what I just said because I think Watchdogs is missing it. I just gave an example of somebody who definitely shouldn't be boxing with women, but I can give an example of a person who should definitely be going into the NFL if that's, if they're like graduating college and it's time to get drafted. And it's not somebody who had testosterone their whole life and then switched recently and is on hormone therapy recently and hasn't had time to do its work. A lot of the gender affirming care that we offer to people who are underage, because we don't do genital surgeries on people that young for a bunch of good reasons. One thing we do is we put them on hormones that prevent them from going through puberty. Your concern is that you might have a person who's gone through male puberty on a female football team, which is that still the NFL or do they have a different label? I don't know how that works. Anyway, I don't follow sports personally, but we could have such a person where they didn't go through male puberty. They didn't have any of the biological advantages that men on average have in these sports. So they're greatly disadvantaged if we make them play with men. They're in danger of getting clobbered if we have them play on the men's football team. And just straightforwardly, I'm describing a person who, if you were watching a women's football game, you wouldn't be able to pick them out. You get what I'm saying, Watchdogs?
I've watched female football, and they're pretty aggressive, but they admit they could never compete against men.
No, but what I'm saying is, if we took
you're missing the point. That's a non-transition.
Yeah, if we put a male team against a female team, yes, like two professional teams, they would probably most likely they would get absolutely clobbered, which is kind of the point of dividing the sports in the first place. I'm saying that if somebody, when they were 11, 12, 13 years old, were dealing with some gender issues and they worked with their doctors and they thought, you know what, you seem to really be struggling with this. It can make your life much worse. The outcome's probably going to be much worse for you if you go through puberty before we figure this out. Let's get you on some hormone blockers that stop you going through puberty. We can get you maybe on some more aggressive hormones later when you can make a more adult decision about this. I'm talking about her, and I'm saying that if she was on a football team, you wouldn't be able to tell which one she was because she didn't go through male puberty.
Is there something you can take as a female that would make you as strong as a male?
Testosterone. That's literally the HRT is testosterone.
Yeah. But that doesn't change your muscle structure, does it?
It very much does. When I took medicine that took away my testosterone, I lost probably a good half of my muscle mass.
As we said earlier,
and that's at 30.
So that's where I was about to go. What Raven brought up, that in Raven's example, Raven's personal case, it was later in life, but in the examples I'm talking about, it's much earlier in life. So we could do the other example and say that you might be concerned for a biologically female person who's going to compete on the men's team, but if she was on the hormone blockers earlier, if she had the hormone replacement therapy and then got on a testosterone regimen that made her test levels for testosterone, the amount they actually test for in blood tests, if that's like more congruent with what's average in range for a biological male, then that's a person who's not going to be disadvantaged in that way. So the answer to your question about bone structure and muscle mass, it's not perfect, but everybody's different. Everybody's unique. But if we're going to look at averages, if we're going to look at data about bone structure and muscles, the earlier the intervention happens, the less the difference is from the cisgender individuals who are the gender that they are transitioning towards. So basically, if you had, I'm 30, Raven's in her 30s. If somebody did their transition when they were in their late teens or early 20s, 10 years later now, there really isn't going to be a biological difference that matters between me and, say, a trans man. I can't grow a very good beard. Most trans men can't because they're on testosterone.
May I make a point about this whole men in women's categories?
Of course.
Real quick, just in general. Trans women have been allowed in the Olympics for, I think, around 20 years until just recently, and not one has ever won a gold medal.
Yeah, it's just the concerns that you're talking about are things that we just don't see actually happening in the world. They don't dominate the sports unfairly, and they don't cause so many injuries that we should be concerned about it as a safety issue. It just doesn't happen.
Didn't we just recently have a situation in a swimming competition where
Riley
a
Gaines?
male beat a female?
Are you talking Riley Gaines?
Yeah.
She would have tied for 5th regardless or if Leah Thomas swam or not.
What's that? She would have what now?
They were tied for 5th place. So if Leah Thomas, the transgender swimmer, never swam, Riley Gaines would still have ended in 5th.
Okay, but bottom line is though...
Bottom line, nothing. Your point is moot.
If you're a male, okay, and you said you are a male, was a male, you took medication to make you weaker. If you're a competitor... Why would you take a medication that's going to make you weaker? Who would do that?
Because you don't take the medicine for the sake of competition.
Yeah,
but if the medicine's going to inherently make you weaker, why would you even take it?
Because
the whole idea is to be strong as you can to compete. I would never take anything to make
Correct.
me weaker.
And so does that maybe speak to the importance of why we transition?
It speaks to, I don't think these trans are taking the medications that are competing. I think they're looking like females, but they're not biologically becoming females.
So it seems to me
that was a lot of brain mush.
I would never give up that advantage. If I'm a competitive person,
so
I'm
earlier,
not going to give up any advantage.
Do you not understand that if somebody's willing to give up that advantage, it must mean that it's an important reason?
Well, it'd be like a female taking testosterone. They'd be thrown off the team.
Yes or no? Can you understand that? If you think this advantage of having testosterone in your body is so important that you can't understand why somebody would give that up, does that not speak to you about how important the decision to transition is for a trans person?
Yeah, but if you reverse it, I'm agreeing with you. But if you reverse it, if a female were to take testosterone and compete, they'd be thrown off the female team.
Exactly, that's the point. They want to be on the male's team.
I think the important thing to point out here is that people who go through these transitions, like we talked earlier in the call before Raven was up about how you and I can't really relate to this because it just hasn't affected us. But I believe them. I believe what they're going through. It's obvious, and it's obvious for reasons like the one that you just arrived at, which is that these are people who go through with these gender affirming care options in spite of the fact that there are negatives. Raven lived their whole life, most of their life as a cis male, as a cis man. And lost a bunch of muscle mass. And that probably was a bummer, but that was worth it because of all that happiness that Raven was talking about now being able to enjoy.
Right.
So
and if we want to talk about cost, not only did I lose my physical safety in crowds, I also lost my entire family, most of my friends. And do you think that's a decision I would make just for fun?
I have no idea what's going through your mind.
Can you not make a logical conclusion based on what I've provided you?
Yeah, to me, it wouldn't be worth the effort. Tell you the truth.
To you, it wouldn't, but to me, it is.
Right, and that if it and wait, you just said that to you it wouldn't be worth the effort, and that's obvious because if the answer to that question was that it would be worth the effort, then you would be trans. That's what being trans is.
Yeah, it's your choice
by one definition.
That's not a choice.
It's not. It's not a.
Why
it's
would
not a
somebody
choice.
choose to give up their family, friends, and safety for happiness?
Well, you said you waited till you're 29 years old to do it.
It's because I was extremely uneducated on the.
Here's what's I see where Watchdogs.
Wait, where's your mother? Where the fuck is your daddy?
Right, and if you see
I think a TV got turned on. Can you turn Watchdogs? Can you turn off whatever that is?
Like the whole. Like how are these many kids out here strapped with 100-round?
It's definitely coming from his microphone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I just immediately also sent you the invite to unmute. So whatever that is, get it shut down. And then I don't know if he's listening though. I was gonna say I lost my train of thought because of that. It was too distracting. How are you, Raven?
Doing good. How are you?
Interesting call. You know, we don't usually have this. Yeah. This feels kind of productive. I remember what I was about to say. I remember what I was about to say, which is that I think what the caller's not getting, and I'll bring him back in a moment to see if he's still here. I think that what he's not understanding is that it is a choice to go with a particular medical intervention. It is a choice to go on hormone replacement therapy, but it is not a choice to have good reason to. That, the fact that you're in a situation where maybe it is a good choice to do that is not a situation that you choose. I didn't choose to fall and break my leg, but we as humans have chosen to do this thing when that happens, which is we put a cast on that allows it to heal. That's a choice. That's an intervention to a problem. I think I sent you the invite on my... No, I already... It says I can send him the invite again in 3 seconds. But again, it seems very perspective driven. He left, so maybe he'll be back. I feel like that was mostly productive.
I mean, honestly, we were reaching to the point where it was unproductive anyways, and it seems like I've been seeing a lot of chat say that there's somebody else that wants to come up.
Yes, and well, I think that they might have seen somebody asking for a clarification. I'll bring them in quick because just so we can, if it's on the same topic. But before I ask them how old they are, I'm just going to read out a $5 YouTube super chat from somebody who said, "I'm curious what the caller feels about this administration attacking the First Amendment, targeting political opponents, and dealing what are religions." I wish I could have asked them. I'm sorry, Katie. You send a bunch of super chats, so I'm sorry I missed that one. I didn't get to it in time. But thanks everybody for sending the super chats and stuff that support the show. Nebbu CA, how old are you?
50.
50. What was your question you wanted to ask?
So my question was going to be for the person who left.
Sorry.
That's okay. Why is it they always the problem is always with a born male transition, a trans female going into a bathroom that they have that is their gender, their chosen gender. And yet it's never the other way around. They never have a problem with someone who's born female going into a male. They seem to think that the person who is born male is choosing this for some nefarious reason. But when it's the reverse, it's never a nefarious reason because they don't have a problem with it. If you have someone who's presenting as a female walk into a male bathroom, why isn't that just as offensive?
Not only that, but they often don't consider the assigned female at birth transitioning to a man, now having to go into the female bathroom. That's a man walking into a woman's bathroom.
Yeah, they don't realize that if we go just by chromosomes, you are insisting that individuals who have more impressive beards than I'm capable of growing go into the women's room, which is just probably not good. Women tend not to like that. If we're actually concerned about the safety and comfort of women. But it really gets to the same rub here, which is that men so often assume they must be doing it so they can get into the women's room and, see women trying to put their makeup on or whatever thing it is that they think they're after. It's the same thing that...
like a man being in a private woman's space, like Donald Trump being in private women's spaces.
They'll never square that hypocrisy, but I want to relate it to what Watchdogs was saying, the previous caller, because he was thinking that these athletes must be doing it for some sort of, hormonal benefit for their performance in the sport, which again is just nonsensical. So, being a transgender person is not the path forward if you want to win medals. As a matter of fact, is a fucking terrible strategy.
I'm a high school teacher. I've taught high school for 25 years. And no offense, and I'm not, I am very much an ally, but I have never once met a guy's guy, a cis male high school student who would want to be I'm up in Canada, so the provincial champion of women's 76 kilogram wrestling.
Literally.
As a cis male, just so they can be a provincial champion. That would not be something they would wear the t-shirt around school.
That sounds like a humiliation ritual.
That they would never do it. So if someone is actually born a male and living as a female and undergoing hormone therapy and wrestles as a female, they're doing it because that's who they truly are. I had a swimmer who swam with my daughter, quit swimming, transitioned from female to male, and in grade 12 had decided they wanted to come back to swimming as an 18-year-old and swam as a male. They were better than most of the males, but only because they had received 7 years of actual swim training, where in Canada, most high school swimmers are just backyard swimmers. So it wasn't that they were on hormones. It wasn't that they were doing anything. It was that they just had skill that other people didn't.
Absolutely.
And I don't understand where the hypocrisy in all of it. The only thing they ever seem to care about is a birth male's genitals, and I will use that word because it's your live, genitals being around a woman's space, but only when it's not Donald J. Trump. And that's the only thing I can think of. And so, Raven, I thank you for your service. I thank you for your journey. I thank you for sharing. Yeah, I had that question, and I wish I could have asked, because a lot of times when you ask that question, hopefully they think, well, yeah, why do I only care about the born male being in a female space? Why don't I care about the born female being in a male space?
And unfortunately, it all comes down to confirmation bias for their hatred.
And I mean, and just their inability to see the world from a perspective other than their own. That's what I mean, and that is a bigger root issue that affects a lot of these things. Thanks for the gifts, everybody. On that beautiful note, I think I'm going to kick you both and move on to the next caller.
Let me get one more thing out
Sure.
real quick before. One of the biggest factors I see in these conversations not going well is that a lot of cis people, whether they try to or not, try to put on the description of being trans and see it through a cis lens, when that's just not what we're trying to accomplish here. It's two different things. And so a lot of times cis people just need to just not have an opinion and just listen to what the trans people are saying.
Yeah. At the end of the day, I'm not going to pretend I have unique perspectives that are valuable to this conversation. I'm mostly just relaying things I've heard from people who go through it and from experts who study those things.
Absolutely. But thanks for having me. Thanks, chat. Love you all.
Goodbye, Raven.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Have a good one.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Raven, for allowing me to, and I wasn't trying to speak over, but allowing me to ask a question and give my perspective, and thank you as well.
No, I appreciate your perspective, especially as an educator. As a high school teacher, it's good to hear from, good to hear from high school teachers. We're going to talk to Nicholas Robbins in a second. And Rosso, I see you in the queue, and hopefully we'll get to you soon, because I remember you from yesterday, and I'm looking forward to talking to you again in particular. But I am going to respect the line after I tell everybody that if you want to support the show, if you like the Oskar Quentin show, if you want it to succeed, if you want this to remain my full-time engagement, because it is at the moment, you can go to the link tree in my bio and find completely free ways to help. You can follow me on the other platforms, and that doesn't cost a dime, but it helps me immensely. If you have a dime you want to spare, you can send it to my Venmo, Cash App, Buy Me a Coffee, or Patreon, so I can pay my bills with the show, which is the plan for now. It's working, but it's got to keep working. So thanks everybody for supporting the show. The show is basically run on donations, so I got to do the NPR thing and say it's viewers like you that are making it happen. But seriously, thanks everybody for making my life what it is right now. I really do enjoy running the show. However taxing it may be sometimes to talk to people like most of my callers who are monsters. We're going to see if Nicholas Robbins is a monster. I hope they're not. Nicholas Robbins 712 is going to start the call by telling us, how old are you, Nicholas Robbins?
I'm 39.
Are you a Trump supporter?
I am.
Why is that?
I like how you I was like on Pawn Stars just now, where we didn't know what the goods were, and then you brought in the expert to do it. That was kind of good.
I do have there's a growing team of experts who might pop in. I've got a couple lawyers who pop up. I made friends with with an OBGYN who came up and talked about some abortion issues. Yeah, it's really exciting for me that people who've either lived through it like Raven have, or if they've dedicated their life to it through school and profession, like if you're a lawyer or a doctor or something. It's very encouraging to me about what I'm doing, that those people see what I'm doing and think, oh my God, Oscar's show is a good place for me to spend my time. I want to contribute to what he's working on by offering direct expertise that maybe Oskar doesn't have, because I'm a pretty knowledgeable guy, but I'm not really an expert at really anything. So yeah, it is very much like Pawn Stars. Yeah, kind of same deal.
Let's call in the experts. Yeah. So the reason I voted for Trump, I mean, I knew I didn't like Donald Trump on a personal level, but the priority was to get. This was back in 2015, was when Obama released the funds back to Iran, and that was a mistake, because we a lot of people knew that then, but it was like, that was extremely naive that you did that, So Trump was like a response to like all the stuff that he was putting the country through,
Well, so specifically what you're talking about is Obama brokering the JCPOA, which was the agreement that we had to prevent Iran from producing nuclear weapons, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so you did do the cheeky little thing of bringing up a cost without bringing up the benefit, because you do recognize that one of the nice things we got in the JCPOA was an effort for Iran to not nuclearize.
Which they did.
No, they didn't. Until Trump, in his first term, threw away the JCPOA.
Do you think that they weren't like making little things in their little fucking tunnels?
Okay, yeah. So I'm going to sidestep the slightly racist way you decided to phrase that. We're just going to move right past that. But I am going to respond to it to the meat and potatoes of what you just said, which is that a lot of people bring up things like how Iran was still doing nuclear research or they were still building ballistic missiles because the JCPOA didn't prevent those sorts of things. And I have to first say the government in Iran are the bad guys. They are a bad regime. They are enemies of the state. They are a bunch of bad guys that we're trying to negotiate with to prevent them from coming up with nukes. So no, they're not going to fucking behave themselves outside of the boundaries of an agreement that we have with them. It's not like they're going to shut down their nuclear or their ballistic missile program out of the goodness of their heart. I would have loved for the JCPOA to also prevent them from building ballistic missiles. But one of the most important things about any agreement that we have with any adversary when we're trying to promote safety and security is that they fucking agree to it. And the fact of the matter is that Iran wouldn't agree to a more aggressive version of the JCPOA, so we got what we could get. And what we could get were assurances that they weren't able to enrich nuclear uranium to the degree that is necessary to make nuclear weapons. They were still allowed to enrich it just a little bit, because you don't have to enrich it very much for nuclear power. It's a lot more you have to enrich it in order to make nuclear weapons. So we physically had nuclear experts who were allowed to go into these facilities and identify what was going on. And the fact of the matter is, the stuff is literally radioactive. It's very difficult to hide from nuclear experts if you are enriching nuclear uranium. So that's what we got out of the agreement. You can list a bunch of bad shit that Iran is doing. I'm not impressed by it. What I was impressed by was that we stopped them from enriching nuclear uranium, and I found it very unimpressive that Trump threw that away for political clout, especially in consideration of the fact that there's video of him from 2011 or 2012 saying that Obama would be a terrible president if he failed to do such a negotiation and went to war with them instead. He succeeded at doing that sort of negotiation, didn't go to war with them, and then Trump himself threw that negotiation out and has now gone to war with them. Hypocritical. Explain yourself.
Explain myself?
Yeah, for thinking that,
that
Trump's on the right side of this.
Hey, Trump, why did you do that? Hey, Trump, don't do that again. Look, I didn't make that decision, okay?
You defended it a couple of minutes ago.
Yeah, I defended him.
That's why you need to explain yourself. I'm asking you to explain yourself for defending it.
You're saying MAGA is the dumbest cult ever, and you're not even trying to hear my point of view. You're already going into it with a negative idea of everybody, the majority of people that voted for him, and you're already labeling half the fucking country.
Here, don't get distracted. The prompt is just that. We were talking about Iran's nuclear program. I laid out a very specific set of concerns I have about it, why I think what Trump did is bad. That was after you said your piece on it. You have the floor. I want my audience to understand your perspective on it. I laid out the reasons why I don't understand your perspective on it.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm kind of shocked that you're giving me the floor, even not trying to just shut me the fuck up. So I appreciate that.
I platform people. That's the whole point of the show.
Yeah.
I am going to put this back down just because I want it to be in my Instagram clips, but ignore it. Yeah, no. You can focus, right?
Yeah, it was also, you can't negotiate with those type of people. They're like, you don't try to make deals with people that keep pushing the envelope.
Trump has repeatedly sorry for cutting you off. I know I just said I'd give you the floor, but I really got to zoom in on that. You understand that Trump is right now very actively trying to negotiate with them.
Yeah, after he fucked them up.
Well, it's not going well. The Strait of Hormuz is closed. The economic result of that, because of gas prices, is really bad, which I always have to remind everybody listening. It's not just about what gas costs at the pump. It's about global energy prices. Everything is made more expensive by fuel being more expensive. So he is desperately trying to get into some sort of a negotiation that resembles the situation that he disrupted in his first term. So I just got to put a stop on it when you say we don't negotiate with these sorts of people, because that would suggest that you're very upset because Trump is frantically trying to negotiate with them in a way that's even more aggressive and disruptive and chaotic than what Obama was doing. He did some calm, collected, let's work out a big deal. Trump is killing people, bombing civilian infrastructure, a bunch of terrible stuff happening, and he's getting into all these negotiations that don't last very long. He, in addition to negotiating with them, just isn't doing a very good job negotiating with them.
Then by that token, you would just like let them keep going and doing what they're doing, and it's like just put an end to it. If you even as messed up as it sounds, there's two bad options here. Let them keep going, or some of their people are going to die. And if you're going to let them keep going, some of your people are going to die. So it's like you got to pick one of the lesser two evils here. So might as well just knock it out. War is dirty and nasty, right? But you have to do one.
What is the lesser of two evils here? I don't understand the dilemma.
Lesser two evils is you're gonna bring them pain. You're gonna bring them suffering. You're gonna fuck them up.
Who is them in that sentence?
Iran, dude. Iran's regime.
Iran's a country. Countries can't suffer. People can suffer. What people are you talking about?
The regime that enslaves those people, right? That holds
the people we're bombing.
Yeah. If you're bombing their infrastructures and their bases and stuff like that, and there are people around there that have nothing to do with it, they might get hurt. But the higher priority right now, yeah, it's bad. But the higher priority is to knock out those infrastructures, right? Knock out those bombs, knock out those whatever they got, whatever the weapons they got, make them not a thing anymore. And unfortunately, some people are going to get hurt, but it's not going to be us. And I'm not going to prioritize.
But why is that good? Why is you okay? So that's the lesser of two evils. What even was the other evil?
The other evil is let them do whatever they're going to do, try to negotiate with them. They start building up their nuclear thing, and then they drop a bomb on Israel, or they drop a bomb on innocent people, or people around them, like across the river, or not the river, but across the bay in UAE or in Bahrain, or just causing death and destruction to people that don't want to take in their ideal.
So we're trying to assess Trump's performance on this. And I guess I just want to ask directly, is any of those situations that we talked about at all better than if we had just left the JCPOA in place that Obama had negotiated?
Yeah, it is. It's a result of kind of what happened. So
I don't understand what you just said. It's a result kind of whatever happened. What happened is Trump threw away the JCPOA. I'm saying that all these people wouldn't have died. We wouldn't have had to bomb all this infrastructure.
Why? Because why would you release those funds to those people? And what did they do with those funds? It's like,
well, so you're saying that the cost of the JCPOA was money. I'm saying the cost of the war is human lives and global stability. And I'm just not understanding why you think that the money wasn't worth spending to prevent Iran from nuclearizing, especially in consideration of the fact that wars are expensive. And if this war continues, it will end up more expensive than the JCPOA was in the first place.
I'm saying if it's going to cost us money, it's fine, as long as they're not having the money to produce those type of weapons, right? Because that's what Obama enabled them to do. He released those funds back to them. And what did they do with it? What did they do with that?
I think that you think that they were secretly using that money to develop nuclear weapons, and that's like some kind of
absolutely. Absolutely.
Where did you hear that? Who told you that?
It's common sense. How do they have all that? How do they have all those weapons?
That's not common sense.
I'm not going to sit there and give you a stat sheet and prove numbers by numbers.
I have found the lie that somebody told you, which is that Obama.
No, it's not. These are all my own thoughts. Yeah, I'm not
you made it up?
repeating anything on Fox News. I'm not. These are my thoughts, right? If you release those funds and all of a sudden they have weapons, where did that money come from?
It's not all of a sudden. It's not all of a sudden. Trump threw away the JCPOA about 6 years ago, and that's enough time, given the existing infrastructure that they already had, that we didn't require them to destroy. We didn't have them demolish the buildings or anything that wasn't part of the JCPOA. We froze their nuclear program in certain ways by not allowing them to continue manufacturing the weapons.
They still built them.
But it's not all of a sudden. You understand that half a decade is in fact enough time for it to make sense now that because of what Trump did in his first term, now years later in his second term, because there was a whole ass term in the middle, now they have nuclear weapons. You used the phrase all of a sudden. Can you at least recognize that all of a sudden is just not an accurate phrase?
Sure, if that's what you're prioritizing, that I used the wrong word.
It's important.
That's why we fucking voted you guys out.
If it was all of a sudden,
over a word and knew what I was talking about.
You're the one who's getting mad. I'm staying pretty collected here. I'm just addressing exactly what you said, and we do deal in words on this talk show, and it is important.
Your vocabulary is fine. Not all of a sudden.
I know.
Course of 10 years, they build up an arsenal.
Okay, but
no,
you
we don't
said,
want them to have a fucking
all of a
arsenal.
sudden because it sowed doubt about the fact that they were following the agreement. I'm accusing you of leveraging that phrase in order to make me feel the way about this that you do, when the fact of the matter is it wasn't all of a sudden.
The fact of the matter is there was 4 years with Joe Biden in office, and what did they do with those 4 years in office? They got strong again.
They were working
and
on
that's why we voted you out again.
They were working
Not
on
because Trump is
they
a
were
supposed
working on
racist,
nuclear weapons.
because we know Trump is going to go in there.
Excuse
and
me,
he's going to
sir.
do what he has to do. We know what he's.
Can you do me a favor?
Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm not mad.
No. I just want you to take a deep breath. I want my audience to be able to understand you. Just like, okay.
Yeah,
I
right.
think that it's accurate that Iran spent 4 years of Biden's term trying to work on their nuclear weapons because they were suddenly allowed to. Biden himself actually tried to rebroker the JCPOA when he took office, but they didn't do it. They didn't go for it. So they were held to this agreement that Obama made. Trump threw it away, which was a shame. Biden tried to get it back. He failed. I don't think that was his fault. Iran also still has to agree to another deal, but they didn't. Bummer. And now here we are after an expected amount of time, not all of a sudden, just like after an expected amount of time, they've started working on nuclear weapons to a degree that's not totally obvious to the public. And I recognize that the U.S. government for national security shouldn't necessarily release all our intelligence. So, but again, it is expected. We're talking about a situation that Trump himself created, and you're blaming blaming Biden, even though he tried to fix it.
Let me say something. Like, if you ever do a huge project, if you're going to build a building, if you're going to build a house, shit's going to go wrong. It's never going to go 100% on exactly the way you want it to go. Just like a war, dropping bombs and fucking people up that deserve to be fucked up, some shit's going to go wrong.
Wait, stop.
Not everything's going to go as planned.
Wait, you're talking really fast, and I just want to address something you just said, that you were dropping bombs and fucking up people who deserve to be fucked up. You do recognize that there's some people who did not deserve to get fucked up have died. You do recognize that, right?
now you're hyper focusing on one small thing and not looking at the whole picture.
We bombed a school, dude.
Some bad things are going to happen with
we bombed a school. True or false? Some bad
things are going to happen.
True or false?
I don't know.
Not all the people who are getting fucked up deserve to die.
Of course, but what?
Okay,
what
then don't
would you
say
prioritize?
that.
So that's you're hyper focusing on one small thing of the bigger picture.
It's 170 children in that school. It's not a small thing.
Voted out.
It's not
That's
a small
why you got
thing.
voted out.
You think
I don't want
you
little
think
kids to die. Of course not.
You think a
Of
school
course
getting
I don't
bombed?
want little kids to die.
Excuse me, sir.
Of course I do not want that to happen.
You are.
Of course I don't want that to happen. Because now you're going to pay me.
Why are you jumping down my throat? I'm telling you that I don't think it is a small thing for a school to be bombed, and I want to understand why you think that is a small thing.
That's the cost of war. When you have a high priority, take out the weapons that are affecting national security. Take it out. If other people in that area
wars are costly, which is why we try to avoid them.
Wars are costly, but what is the better option than going to war and messing up the people that are a direct threat to us and the people around them? Some people are going to have to pay the ultimate price, and it's unfortunate, but that's the best option available for two shitty options.
We're talking about Trump's performance as president. We're talking about Trump's performance as president, and I have laid out in this call with you exactly why I think it is Trump's fault that this war is happening, and a more peaceful, beneficial to the global order.
You can't do peace with these people. They don't like peace.
But they did. The JCPOA was working.
The only reason why people put up with them is because they have oil.
You just made a claim that's false. It was
so people
working.
Look the other direction.
Because they have oil. Because they have oil and they want to participate in the global market and benefit financially from that oil, they do have to behave in certain ways.
So they can make money and make weapons that kill people? No.
I don't like Iran. You're correct that they're an evil regime, but your solutions are you are accepting the fact that
How do you negotiate with them?
How would you
negotiate with them?
Trump is running this war in a very similar way that you are running this phone call, which is that the moment you get your feeling hurt, you start talking really fast.
I'm not. I play a lot of Madden, so I control my emotions, okay? I play with toxic people that are way more toxic than you. In fact, I don't even think you're that toxic. I don't think you're that toxic. Okay?
I don't think you control your emotions very well.
I do. Watch here. Go ahead and say something to me. Watch.
I've already demonstrated it in the call. I don't need to do it again. I'm not going to try to hurt your feelings on purpose. Your feelings have been hurt in the call because we're talking about some stuff you got big feelings about.
Because you're in bad faith and you're saying that all MAGA supporters, half the country that voted for him, who prioritize the right thing and not prioritize little small things like little verbs or little pronouns that you insist on saying, that's not what we prioritize. We prioritize winning and national security. We don't prioritize your little adverbs and your little things that you focus on that are not the bigger picture. You are focused.
Why are you getting so upset about what I'm saying then?
Because you're not in good faith and you're not even trying to understand.
For me
what
to
I'm
be
saying.
in good, for
and
me,
you're trying to paint that.
You're
trying to
accusing me.
paint half the country.
I'd like
as
to address
dumbest
your
cult
accusation
ever.
that I'm not operating in good faith. For somebody to not be operating in good faith, they must be saying something that isn't exactly how they feel
MAGA
or think
is the
about
dumbest
it.
cult ever. MAGA is the dumbest cult ever.
I'll admit the prompt is a little hyperbolic.
So how could I trust anything that you say that you're trying to hear what I'm saying without you already having like a pre-mind made up that I'm just an idiot because I follow Trump?
I think that you're using
when
the prompt.
When you have that sign up.
Can I answer your question?
Yeah.
I think that you're using the prompt, which I like cheekily said we could ignore just to make the conversation
And you put
flow
it
better.
right back up.
Yeah, because it's part of the graphic design of the show. It's like good for the Instagram clips and stuff. But my point is that I think you're using
ice.
I think that, the other prompt up there, I think you're using those as an excuse to ignore the fact that I've actually been really gracious with you in this conversation.
You are pretty gracious. I'm not going to lie. You are pretty gracious. I respect you as a host. And I will definitely say that you're a good host. And you're listening. You're not just cutting me off like some like Dean or whatever.
Well,
so that's cool.
But again, while I'm gracious and I help in that way to guide the conversation.
Here comes insult.
Well, all I was going to say is that it's really important to me that we stay on the particular topics we're discussing, and I am just still not understanding why you think that Trump has done a good job given the things that you say you value, because you don't like Iran because they're of like the risk for death and destruction, but Trump's solution to the problem has been death and destruction, and also, by the way, like a really serious damage to the global economy and
the only option to deal with these people is death and destruction. They don't understand anything else.
But we've been talking about the other option, which would have been to leave the JCPOA that Obama brokered in place, and I'm just not understanding why you don't think that was a tenable option.
Absolutely not. Do not leave that in place.
Why not, though?
Because what did they do with it? They will build more weapons to hurt people.
Okay, let's just talk about some other details of this, and I am going to take a moment. Forgive me for doing this as host, but I have some donors to thank, so I'm going to take a moment to do that really quick, because Rose sent me $10 on Venmo with a message. Oh, wow, big message. Let's read it. She says, I see talk on how Trump affected the workforce. However, few talk about the Trump slump, how Trump's bills and policies affected truckers and cooks who we rely on. I'm a professional chef with a 10-plus year degree and willing to be a voice to talk. Yeah, so Rose is getting onto some other things. We could talk about Trump's economic policies, but I actually have a YouTube super chat for $5 where somebody said, ask them about the bombing program last year. Wasn't it supposed to be destroyed? I will ask the caller about that in just a second after I read Katie's $2 super chat. Didn't Cheeto promise no new wars? So thank you, Katie, and thank you. Who was it who sent the other one? I can't read the username. Sorry, I love you. Thank you for the $5. I will ask their question, which is that Trump just last year had a bombing campaign where he allegedly completely destroyed their nuclear facilities, which I am perfectly willing to admit could have been reasonable. I don't have the intelligence. I mean, I really shy away from those sorts of options, but it's possible that if I became president, they'd show me in some intelligence and I'd be like, oh my God, they're doing that. Can we use our bunker busters to fix that? I'm willing to play a little bit of devil's advocate and just leave myself agnostic on that one. But my issue is with Trump's performance as president, and that is what the show is about. And we're talking about the fact that he threw out this arrangement that caused this situation that he's now using as an excuse. He gave them nuclear weapons by throwing out the JCPOA and then used the nuclear weapons as an excuse to go to war with them, which makes me feel like the war is his fault. Furthermore, he on the campaign trail said he wasn't going to start any new wars, and he has, which means that we can't trust him with issues of national and global security, because he starts wars that he said he wasn't going to start. And furthermore, after that bombing campaign, he said that their nuclear capability had been obliterated, which, as we covered earlier in the call, was just a few months ago. It was less than 1 calendar year ago. And that means that it would be completely out of nowhere if they had a dangerous nuclear capability. He was either lying when he said that we destroyed their nuclear capability and we were sure of that, or he's lying just a few months ago when he said that their nuclear capability was back, because that isn't enough time for them to have developed it. My bottom line is that Trump is being woefully inconsistent about this. He's lying through his teeth left and right. He's saying things that are completely incongruent, and he's doing things that have demonstrably been bad as a cost, as measured in cost of human lives, of innocent people, because I really do focus, I don't really actually care that all these horrible people who work for this regime are getting bombed. That's not what I'm worried about. I am just worried about the 90 million Iranians who are mostly just everyday people trying to live their lives, work their jobs, feed their kids like everybody else. The situation's really bad, and I just don't understand why you support it. It's not like I just really preferred when we weren't at war with Iran.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
That is, that was a lot. So I'm not going to be.
Holy shit.
It was a big pile of shit. I do that sometimes, and we can break it down and talk about it one piece at a time. But my point is that I can't find an angle to look at this situation where it doesn't look like Trump is a buffoon who's negatively impacting security, both domestic and national or internationally, and also badly affecting the economy and causing innocent people to die. And that's just a pile of stuff that I just didn't see that happening if we didn't elect him.
I mean, like Iran, right? The people, they listen to American records. They listen to American. They watch American TV shows, right? That does matter because what they want to be free, right? They want. I think most people they don't want to just put their head down and be like, if I just do what I have to do, they won't shoot me. These people that are in power, they don't want that. They want like fair and free elections, and they want the great things that we have Americans. I don't know. I think you're from Canada. Where are you from?
Oh, you may have got me. I was born in New York. I grew up in Manhattan for 20 years, and I've lived in Minnesota for 10 years. But my mom's side of the family is Canadian.
Okay. Makes sense. Okay. So like they want the things that we want, right? But if you have a regime in there that is pretty much not allowing that, you have to take out that regime. And he said,
interesting.
Take back your government, right? Do it now.
Okay, can I tell you some things about the possibility of like regime change in Iran? Some thoughts I have on that?
Yeah, I mean, sure, go ahead.
Well, I mean, I talked about all the like economic things and national and international security and unnecessary civilian costs. And then when I said I can't find an angle to look at it that makes Trump look good, you offered a new angle, which is that the regime change in Iran. And I also think that Trump looks bad from that angle because the regime change that happened is that an 86-year-old Khamenei was unalived in one of these bombings. Great, that dude sucks. I'm not going to mourn his death. He was a fucking monster. Rest in pieces, dude. But the problem I have with that approach is that I could have killed the leader of Iran by doing nothing at all because he was 86. And when he died, it wasn't actually clear to the Iranian people who was going to take his place. And there was a possibility, however slim, however small, that the path forward was a progressive one. Now, that doesn't mean they're going to elect Bernie Sanders to be the leader of Iran, but that means that they might choose somebody to replace Khamenei who maybe isn't as monstrous a person as Khamenei. That was a possibility. Let me finish what I'm saying. That was a very real possibility that people watching the situation were thinking, who's going to replace Khamenei? We hope it's not his son. But when we killed him in a bombing raid, we killed this man's father, we killed some other members of his family, we killed a bunch of innocent people in his country, we fucked up his relationship with the global world, and because that was the circumstances, because we were at war, and any country, good or bad, if you're at war, regime change is bad. That's why Zelensky is still president of Ukraine. They've suspended their elections because people at wartime recognize it's not great to change power. We did it in the United States. We didn't have the 27th Amendment yet that disallowed presidents from serving more than 2 terms. We kind of had like a gentleman's agreement that people weren't going to serve more than 2 terms as president. Our World War II president served 4 terms. He died during the 4th one. We elected the motherfucker 4 times because even we Americans recognize that during wartime, changing the regime is bad. So because Trump went to war with them, it guaranteed that Khamenei, instead of dying of old age at 86, got replaced with a different Khamenei, his son, whose father was just murdered, who hates our fucking guts. We made sure that the regime change that was necessarily going to happen because the dictator of Iran was going to die of old age, we necessitated that the worst possible option is the person who would be selected.
I don't know, man. That's a stretch because you're assuming that would have happened, that they would have gone progressive. They've been doing bad things.
I didn't say that they would. I specifically clarified. I didn't mean that they would just like go progressive and let women have all the same rights as men. I'm not saying that it would have become sunshine and daisies in Iran. I'm just saying it would have been better than if Khamenei's son became the leader. But we guaranteed that worst possible outcome is what happened.
What was the reason that we started going in on them? It wasn't because they didn't like the leader. Do you remember what the reason was? It wasn't like there's a bad guy.
Trump's excuse for starting the war?
Sure, if that's what you want to say.
We're playing whack-a-mole now because we already talked about all those angles, and then when we exhausted that wasn't a good way to make Trump look good in this situation, you moved on to the regime change.
I'm not here to make Trump look good.
And then I demonstrated that from the regime change angle, he still looks bad, and now you're moving back to the excuse for starting the war, which was nuclear weapons, which we said are Trump's fault.
Right. So you're saying they're building nuclear weapons, and the guy's getting old, so they're just going to go progressive all of a sudden.
You just said that. I just responded to it. I'm not. You're so stuck on the word progressive. I literally just. Okay, let's throw away the word progressive. Not as bad is all I meant. Which progressive is. Progressive means incremental, but just not as bad.
Let them leave them alone. Let them keep doing their death and destruction and their terror all over the world.
What death and destruction was Iran causing? I mean, they were killing some of their own people. There's terrible stuff happening there. But if you're talking about them doing international things, they are a greater threat to us now. I'll be straightforward to you. I play this card on the show so fucking often, and I'm sorry, but it almost feels dishonest not to, because it's something I'm so personally connected to. If you're concerned about the safety issue that Iran is to the rest of the world, I am too. I'm a victim of terrorism here. My father worked in Tower 2, and I was in Manhattan on 9/11, and I have asthma from it. It's like a big thing in my life. It matters to me a lot, and I really fear the notion that people who have these horrible backwards ideologies.
Your father was in World War II, and you still take these stances?
Tower 2.
So he got killed in 9/11?
No. He survived to drink himself to death about it.
And then you voted for the mayor. Yeah, it makes sense. The mayor that you got now in New York.
Gotcha. I live in Minnesota now. I don't know what you're talking about. See, you're surprised.
Bad. You voted for Tim Walz. My bad. You voted for Tim Walz. My bad.
You're surprised by my perspective on this, and that's why I brought it up.
Yeah, because it doesn't make any sense. It's not linear.
But I'm thinking practically about what creates safety. I'm not thinking with my emotions. If I was thinking with my emotions, I might want to go, I don't know, bomb some people who live in deserts or something, whatever they said in the early 2000s. We just learned that wasn't a good way to handle it, and I'm more reasonable than that. I don't want people to have the sort of childhood that I had because of terrorism. And I think that the people having that sort of childhood, the likelihood of that is increased by Trump's actions. And I think anybody who's listened to this phone call would see why I think that. Iran's real mad at us. Those 170 girls that we killed in that school, they had families. And it might be one of their family members that plants a bomb in a business that you're visiting.
It's not fair to blame Trump when you can see your father in Tower 2 was still being attacked by these people long before Trump was even on the playing field. They say Trump is bad. Trump is bad. These people have been doing this stuff since I was born. Since the 90s. They've been doing this stuff. So, like, your solution is to say, just leave them alone. They might have fixed themselves. No.
That wasn't what I said my solution was. I didn't say.
He's getting old, so just leave him alone. They'll take care of it.
All I was specifically adding is that we were on the very narrow topic of regime change after we'd covered global security, after we'd covered domestic security, after we'd covered economics, after we'd covered the cost to the civilians. We were down a deep rabbit hole when I said that we should have just let the guy die. That was a very specific and narrow point, and you're using it to say that my entire position on this is that we shouldn't do anything at all.
So what is your
which I never
position?
said.
What should we have done? You're going to pick on small things over a big priority, which is taking them out. And you're going to be like, well, some people died over here. Yes, I told you some people are going to die. What is your whole overall solution to this regime and making sure the people of Iraq live a free and fair life and keep the trade going? What would your solution be? Just it's not just let them be, because I said that and then that hit a nerve. So what is
It's not that it hit a nerve. It's that it's not accurate to my perspective. And I'm glad that you are directly asking my perspective. I'm going to thank Tool Jam for the $10 YouTube super chat. He wanted me to bring up that Trump said in 2011 that Obama would go to war with him. Yeah, I did actually talk about that earlier in the call. So thank you very much, Tool Jam. But I did already bring that specific point up. What I think that we should do is we should have people in office who think about these sorts of things in the way that I do, which is that we look at exactly.
Oh my God.
When I say
Trump, what's the solution to stopping Iran?
Well, hold on,
I get it. Trump bad. Trump not good.
You interrupted my answer.
Trump mean orange man. Got it. Trump
no, that's not. No, it's not that Trump bad. I'm saying that my perspective on this is, I think, a reasonable one. You know my perspective. We've been talking for how long? 30 minutes. You just spent 30 minutes learning my perspective. And I think that if our elected officials had that perspective, they would try to negotiate with Iran in a way that causes less death. And I don't want to hear again from you that we shouldn't negotiate with these people at all, because Trump is frantically trying to negotiate with them in a way that's ineffective, because he kind of biffed it with they have one thing. Iran's really not all that dangerous. Their military is not, they're not going to win a war against us. They don't have strong enough.
Thanks to Trump.
That's not true. Even before Trump, they didn't have a military strong enough that it made sense to have some big conflict with us. The only thing they had is control over the Strait of Hormuz. They can fuck up the global oil market.
Bunkers with ballistic missiles. You're not scared of a ballistic missile? It shoots like 2 miles in the air and destroys everything.
Ballistic
Worse
missiles
than your
shoot
father got
far
it?
worse than that. No, I'm actually not concerned about Iran having ballistic missiles, even if they had nukes. I'll be straightforward with you. I'm way more concerned with acts of, like, individual acts of terrorism, like 9/11, than I am with them having nukes. Because if you're so concerned with them having nukes, like North Korea has nukes, they're going to point them at us for 100 years. They know that we, the global community, NATO, will wipe them off the face of the fucking planet if they use them. So it sucks that they have them, but at the end of the day, the mutually assured destruction thing works. So I'm actually just not with the view that I have on this, I'm just not actually all that concerned. I just think that denuclearization is good generally because it prevents that state of affairs from changing. And we were working on that. We had politicians working on that. We had 2 prior presidents who were working actively on that. And we have one president who's rolling around like a upset toddler on the floor screaming, making it worse. I just think his approach to it is bad.
There's a difference between North Korea having nukes they can't even launch off the ground, and Iran, who is a money-making
Iran?
machine,
No.
Who makes money from oil.
North Korea regularly does missile tests that demonstrate. We're actually pretty concerned that they could get a nuclear weapon to the west coast of the United States. They have recently fired missiles over Japan. No, but you
prioritize it. North Korea's.
But you said that you said it's not a priority because they can't get the nukes off the ground, and that's simply false.
But it's more of a priority when they have an unlimited supply from oil.
Slow down. I brought up North Korea as an example, and you shot it down because apparently their missiles can't get off the ground. Do you recognize that it's false? Their missiles do get off the ground. North Korea has long-range missiles.
Okay. I'm sorry. What I meant to say was their missiles are not as good, or their threat level is not. Yes, they're a threat. If they have missiles, they're a threat, and their missiles go off the ground. I got it. But there's not as much of a threat as Iran, who has an unlimited supply of money from oil. Right?
But China works with North Korea, so China has a deep well of resources to work against the United States being a major player on the global stage. They have a great well of resources to promote a lack of security for the United States. There are angles we could talk about that, and a bunch of other countries that have nukes for that matter. Israel's a question mark. But there's a bunch of other ones, and I think that you're so upset about Iran, and I don't even know why. Iran, by the way, wasn't even involved in 9/11. Just as an aside, I know the chat was lighting up about that earlier. Like, I don't get it.
The Islamic ideology that brings terror has nothing to do with it.
I'm an atheist, and I agree that Islamic ideologies are like fundamentalist Islamic ideologies are bad. I also think that of Christianity. If you read the Bible, it says to do some fucking terrible.
Oh my gosh, false. Stop it. Come on. I'm not
going to stop it.
That's a horrible thing to say.
You brought up their religious ideologies, and it is a matter of fact that most practicing Muslims are not dangerous people. They're just regular people living their lives trying to feed their families, and that's true of Christians.
Except for the one that almost killed your dad.
Yes, and except for do you think that in history Christians haven't done horrible 9/11-esque things in
What do you think's a bigger threat right now, Christians or Muslims?
Living in America, Christians for me right now.
That is so false. I get a lot of death threats.
I get a lot of death threats, and I think that if one of those people acted on it, it's more likely that it's going to be a Christian than a Muslim. No.
False. You say fuck ICE in the background.
Yeah, so and if somebody kills me for saying fuck ICE, because I get death threats every day of my life.
Nobody wants to kill you.
Lots of people want to kill me.
You're saying Christians are bad, Muslims are not as dangerous as Christians.
Wait, I really want to. No, you're breezing past this thing. I am a left-leaning political commentator.
Yeah, no shit.
Political commentators sometimes get murdered in this country. It's happened recently.
Yeah, like who? Charlie Kirk?
Yes, he was on the other side.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
So if somebody kills me, do you think it's unlikely for them to be a Christian? The issue right now is Christian nationalism. That's what's rising. This cult is a cult of Christian nationalism. It's a cult of white supremacy. There's a bunch of people at the top who understand that, and a bunch of people at the bottom who don't. I'm going to accuse you of being at the bottom of that instead of the top, which is actually the more polite thing to say, because I don't think you're that evil. I think you're just a fool. I think you're drinking the Kool-Aid. I think you're in the cult.
No, I'm not in the cult. I'm looking at common sense and prioritizing.
Then make it make sense, because it doesn't make sense to me.
Okay, I'll make it make sense. I don't think I can make it sense to you because you're on the wrong side of every issue. You think Christians are dangerous and Muslims are not dangerous.
I think that fundamentally... No. You don't understand my perspective. You don't understand my perspective. I think that fundamentalists are dangerous, regardless of what their religion is. Orthodox religious individuals, regardless of which religion, tend to be the people. It's not any particular religion that's guilty of civil rights violations, of atrocities. It's fundamentalists. It's Orthodox
So would you
believers
rather
of
live
old
in
texts.
a country with fundamentalist Christians? Would you rather live in a country of fundamentalist Islams? And if you could answer that honestly, but you can't because you're living in America.
I don't know.
If you could
To
say
me,
you go live in
that's-
fundamentalist Muslim countries, then go right the fuck ahead.
Both are really bad, and I don't live in either right now, but I'm concerned that it's becoming a fundamentalist Christian.
So make a choice.
country.
Which one would it be? Everybody knows the right answer. That's why they all come to
flip
us.
a coin. They're both bad. That doesn't get to the rub of what I think bad is, because the
God.
fundamentalist part is the part that's bad. I'll put it this way. I would rather live in a majority Muslim nation that wasn't fundamentalist than in a Christian nation that was.
Wow. So that's a terrific answer to a question nobody fucking asked.
I am allowed to say whatever I want on this show, and I don't think you liked what I just said.
It's your show. It's your show, but you're making these claims that you know that are not to be true just to get views.
What claim have I made that I don't believe to be true? That's an accusation that I'm being disingenuous and not operating in good faith. What claim do you think I've made today that I don't truly believe in my heart that you think I'm making for views? Because if I wanted to make claims just for views, I'd be on Charlie Kirk's team. It's the more profitable team.
Oh, Charlie.
I mean the right. We don't have to talk about him particularly.
Your
Katie
claim
just
is
sent
that fundamentalist Christians are more dangerous than fundamentalist Islamic.
I didn't say that. Oh, well, okay. I didn't say that across
you
the board.
did say that.
I did say right now in America, yeah, they're the concern.
That's why you moved to Minnesota after getting bombed that's why you moved to Minnesota after your father got bombed.
I don't appreciate you telling me what my decision making and thinking was after 9/11 happened to me. I think that's like a really deeply disrespectful.
I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so sorry. I felt the need to say that.
I just think it was.
I'm so sorry. That was fucked up.
Why
I
do you-
slap myself right now. I'm like to slap myself.
Are you teasing me about it? Like, do you consider yourself a patriot, dude? What is this?
No, that was fucked up. I admit I fucked up.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right. Yeah. Don't do that, man. Like, what the hell? Again, I'm just going to ask again. You said that I'm making claims I don't believe in for clicks. Give me an example of a claim you think I've made that you think I don't actually believe.
Fundamentalist Christians are just as dangerous as fundamental Islamic people.
What I said is that in this country right now, we have a big problem with some fundamentalist ideologies taking the main stage, and it isn't Islam. It's Christian nationalists. It's white nationalists. I'll say, by the way, thank you, Katie, for the $2 YouTube super chats. One of them says Christian nationalists are more of the threat. She was kind of on the same point about what's going on locally here in America. And then she said, Christians are the ones who want me not to vote. Yeah, because that's one of the things that the Christian nationalists in this country are doing in order to try to take control is they're trying to disenfranchise voters, which is a whole other topic than all this other stuff. But do you think that I'm lying to you when I say that Christian nationalists are a bigger problem in the U.S. government than fundamentalist Islamists?
Yes, 100%. That's not even like, it's no question about it. Oh, those damn Christians.
We don't have any fundamentalist Islam politicians in this country, but we do have politicians who claim to be fundamentalist Christians. So I don't understand
the
why.
The one that took over New York or AOC.
He's not a fundamentalist.
Or what's her name? The one in your state.
Ilhan Omar. She's also not an. She's also. You're talking about like a handful of politicians who happen to be Muslims, but they're not fundamentalists, which is what I'm talking about. But there are loads. Almost all of our politicians identify as some flavor of Christian, and some of them do identify as fundamentalists. That's what I'm talking about.
So would you rather have all politicians like Ilhan Omar, or would you rather have them like some right-wing Christian that has family values, doesn't want
so I don't agree with the family values that Orthodox Christians have. So I don't want you to I can answer your question about whether I'd rather have a bunch of politicians like Ilhan Omar or Mamdani in New York, or a bunch of fundamentalist Christian politicians like our Republicans right now. But I don't want you to sprinkle your opinion about that outcome by saying, oh, the Christians want good families or whatever. I will just answer it directly and say that the reason I'd be okay with all of our politicians being the sort of Muslim that somebody like Ilhan Omar. I'm answering your question, dude.
All right, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did me talking about Islam make you feel fear? That's the definition of Islamophobia. Can I finish answering your question? I've given you the grace, have I not?
You're right. Go ahead.
You're just not being very polite to me. Like, if you want people to respect your side of this conversation and hear you out, which is what I'm really trying to give you an opportunity to do, these little tactics just make you look bad. Like you were like,
all right, you're right. Go ahead. You got it.
Yeah, okay. So the reason I think that that's better is because Ilhan Omar wants me to be able to have my own religion. She doesn't care that I'm an atheist. Mamdani doesn't care that I'm an atheist. She's mayor of New York. How ridiculous would it be for anybody who's mayor of New York to really care what anybody... They believe in religious freedom is the important thing. The Christian fundamentalists don't. So I, as an atheist, am under greater threat from a Christian nationalist than any non-Orthodox flavor of Muslim, because those Muslims want me to be able to practice my atheism, which I'm doing right now in front of a lot of people, just as much as they want people of their own religion to be able to build mosques without them getting shot up or whatever. Like, we want the same thing. We want religious freedom. Because I'm about religious freedom, because I value that type of freedom so much for the safety of this country and the people who live in it, I really do think we would be safer under people who believe in religious freedom, regardless of what their religion is. And you're saying that we'd be safer under people who don't believe in religious freedom, because fundamentalist Christian nationalists, by definition, don't believe in religious freedom.
So like in prisons, right? What do you think the percentage of, and I'm not looking at stats, I'm not looking at Gemini, I'm not looking at anything. What do you think the percentage is of Muslims in the prison systems?
No idea.
Yeah, it's disproportionate, put it that way.
I am aware that a lot of people identify as either Muslim or Jewish in prisons because it allows them to claim that they should only eat halal or kosher food, which is better than most of the food that they offer by default in prison. So there's numbers. I don't know what they are, but I happen to know they're very skewed because of the dietary requirements in prison.
Oh, so they just joined the religion just to get like a little benefit?
Yeah, I think if I got to eat better while in prison, I might tell the same lie. I might say I'm a Muslim on a piece of paper just to get like tastier, like more nutritious food.
So I don't have to shave, just to say, yeah, I'm a Muslim, so I can grow a beard or whatever.
If I was in prison for some reason, I would sacrifice my honesty and growing a beard if it meant I got to eat better. I care a lot about my health.
Fuck, man, that's a good point.
Sorry, it's what I do on this show.
Oh, hey, you're good people, man. I'm sorry. Hey, I appreciate your point of view. We're still boys. We're not all bad. We have different priorities. MAGA's not all evil. We're trying. I don't think MAGA's all evil. I think the vast majority, just like anybody in any cult, I think the vast majority of people who've drank the Kool-Aid have done just that, and they don't know it's the Kool-Aid. I think it's a very small number of people in this country who are responsible for all of the evils that I see going on, and it's just unfortunately an enormous number of people who've bought the bullshit those people sell. I'm doing what I can to fix that. You may have bought the bullshit that it sounds to me like somebody told you that there's a bunch of Muslims in prison and that's evidence that they're dangerous, and I provided, without even being educated on the matter. No, they are. Like, they're disproportionate amount of how much are in the population compared to like the population of the country. You get what I'm saying? Like there's more, like, you take a sample of the people in the country and then you take a sample of people in prison. It's way more people in like the percentage of people that are Muslim in prisons for dangerous and violent crime. That's a fact, right?
Right, but I just pointed out why I would immediately be skeptical of those, because I do happen to know something about people's religious preferences. You're saying that,
but your point was that they're changing once they're in. Oh, they're changed once they're in. Yeah, it's the fastest growing religion in the country because they want extra honey buns when they go to the commissary. No,
I think it's the fastest growing. I think it's the fastest growing religion in prisons because they want honey buns or whatever it is you get for declaring kosher or a halal diet.
Honey buns causing one terrorist at a fucking time. No, they're a problem for us. We don't want them here. We don't want the violent ones. We don't want their ideology.
You don't want them here. Do you believe in democracy?
No, we don't want them here. The majority of the people that support ICE. The people that are scared.
The majority of people don't support ICE. Even among Trump supporters, they're losing favor because a lot of people believe...
people that want to regulate the people coming in and making sure that our next door neighbor is safe. And when they have a crazy ideologies, the ones that bombed your dad, moved to Minnesota, and all your friends are Muslim, those people, we're scared of them because what are they doing?
To be perfectly clear, they bombed me too. I breathed that dust in, and that's why I have asthma and why I have to worry about the lung cancer I'm going to get someday, and if I'm going to get treated well by the government, given that it's a good chance that it was caused by that incident. But I mean, like,
yeah, the government did it, not the Muslims. The government obviously did it.
You're going on this tirade. You're going on this tirade about.
You moved to Minnesota.
You don't even know why I moved to Minnesota.
You're surrounded by them, and do you know why I moved
to Minnesota?
What? So you want to be a fraudster? You want to take money from the government more?
I moved to Minnesota 10 years ago. Do you think it was to start a daycare and commit fraud?
Layering center?
I did actually work at a daycare.
It sounds like they didn't.
It's my first job when I moved
like
here.
You didn't layer anything. Sounds like
you're getting mean
like
and
you
you're
went to
making
college and
attacks.
got
Are we going to go back to having a productive conversation like adults?
I'm sorry. Well, you attacked me too.
I've attacked you for the things that you've said in this call. I've attacked the things that you're doing to me right now, and you're making up things about me. I asked a question, do you know why I moved to Minnesota? You gave an answer that was wrong, and you don't seem interested in the truth. That, to me, sounds disingenuous.
Okay, why'd you move to Minnesota? Why'd you move?
My older sister is an artist, and she went to a school here. Really, Minnesota's got a real good art school, Minneapolis College of Art and Design. She went to the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, and because I was really close with her, I had visited a few times, and I really liked it here. I really like that it's a busy city with lots of cool art. I, as a creative person, I'm like a professional musician. That's one of the things I was doing with my time before this. It wasn't my full-time job, but I was making money as a working artist, and I get to do that having grown up in a very privileged place. Very, very happy I grew up in New York, but all the doors are closed. You need to be famous or lucky or rich or something to be able to go get involved in a creative space because it's so hyper-competitive, whereas Minneapolis, the metro here is growing so fast that if you're a creative who wants to get up to cool projects, just go to a bar and make some friends and you'll get involved with something. And I've really benefited from that, in addition to the fact that I get to live that city life. And if I pick a direction and drive for 30 minutes, I'll find a beautiful place to fish because I grew up fishing and enjoying the outdoors, and I've taken wilderness adventures pretty seriously as an adult. So Minnesota offers a type of lifestyle that I really value, which is that I have the personal freedoms I want to be able to do those sorts of things, but I also have the opportunity that comes with progressive city life that benefits the things that I care about for my career. And I really credit those things with the incredible time I got to have in my 20s. I just entered my 30s, and I'm sitting here really happy with what Minnesota gave me as a young, broke person in my 20s. That's why I moved to Minnesota. That's why I don't think I'm ever leaving unless that state of affairs changes. That's why I tell people that Minnesota has the third highest HDI, Human Development Index, which is the internationally recognized standard for quality of life in various places. We rank third out of the 50 states for the reasons I just described. Fucking rocks here, dude. Stop watching Fox News.
But what you should do is start a learning center for music for kids, and then rip off the government, and then have us all
listen
pay
to a
for
word
the
I
bullshit.
said, or did you just have that on?
No,
deck
you did.
the whole
You did.
time?
You did. I'm sorry. That was beautiful, and I'm glad that you found a good place to live. I'm sorry for being going on the attack.
Well,
Thank
yeah,
you.
but fraud's bad. I don't support. I think anybody who's defrauded the government of money that was meant to subsidize education programs should go to prison for it. I think I'm on your team about that.
Good.
Did you expect me to say something other than that?
Yeah.
Why would I?
Call me off
Why? Why would I support defrauding welfare programs? What the fuck?
Well, you stuck up for Ian. I don't even know how the fuck to say her name. Omar.
Ilhan Omar. Do you think that Ilhan Omar wants people to defraud the government's welfare programs?
I mean, I think she was looking the other direction. Again, I'm not going to prove it because I wasn't there.
Yeah, so that's an accusation that Ilhan Omar, because she's Muslim, and Walz, because he's governor, get. But I always ask this. In the course of one's duties as a representative in the House of Representatives, which is what Ilhan Omar is, or as governor, which is what Tim Walz is, where in their schedule is the part of the week that they spend investigating fraud?
It's not in their schedule. And that's
Do they
why
investigate
just let it go.
murders?
I don't know. I'm not behind the scenes.
Do they enforce the traffic laws? Do they pull people over for speeding?
That's different, man. Come on. You know that there's two different things.
Well,
you got
specifically-
stuff showing up on your front desk. People
there?
blown. Yeah, like reports.
Because what? No,
I mean,
because the
how
fact of
would
the matter
billions
is,
of dollars-
the fact of the
billions of
matter
dollars
is
go up?
that when presented with the information about these crimes that the law enforcement found, that other people found, the oversight committees found, that the people whose job it is to investigate those things,
Oh, here
Walz
it comes.
and
76 people. Here it comes.
here what?
If
comes?
it never would have been. It never would have been something if old boy didn't go over there and bring a light to people, right?
Old boy.
How come they started cracking down on it, and then they found it in California, another Democrat state?
I know your talking points, so I actually know the things you're trying to say, but I know the people listening aren't following you. Who's good old boy? You're talking about Nick Shirley, right?
Yeah.
Why did the investigation start before Nick Shirley arrived then?
Why did it really pick up after he came?
It didn't. It became important in your sphere of influence. It started getting talked about on the television. The talking points came out, but in terms of
no, that shit would have.
In terms of the law enforcement actions that were happening, Nick Shirley didn't change shit.
No, it brought it to light, and everyone started pointing at it. Everyone.
Yeah, that happened, and that's why you're aware of it. But it was being investigated prior to that.
It wasn't being stopped.
Yes, it was. is being worked on. Walls is actually cooperating with the FBI on doing some search warrant raids on some businesses that are also suspected of the same type of fraud. So when it comes down to actually, you're accusing Ilhan Omar and Tim Walz of negligence in their duties. You're saying that they were aware of something and refused to stop it. And I'm giving you direct evidence to the contrary. And your only answer that I heard in there was you saying, no.
Like if that was true, why did Nick Shirley go there and find all these centers if they were already being investigated right on the street?
Because he's a grifter, dude. Because he wanted to make a video and make money. Nick Shirley's an awful journalist. He didn't exercise good journalistic integrity. Going to a facility and trying to gain entry as a man on the street. I have experience in education, and as somebody who has worked at a daycare before.
Oh my God! Come on, dude. Stop.
Yeah,
that.
do you think we were going to let somebody in the door? Do you understand the security that educational institutions need to have right now with what's going on with school shootings? The most recent educational job that I had was a place that had two.
If there were kids in the building, you would need security. Well, he's going to multiple businesses and saying this is not being stopped. And the only reason they started going in on it is because he started bringing the lights and sharing the stuff on YouTube. Otherwise, they would have kept let it go right under the nose.
No, that's you're just making. That's how you see it, because that's how the story gets packaged by people like Nick Shirley himself, who has benefit to package the story and say that he did something.
He just wants to pick on the governor.
Can I point out to you that at one of the daycares he went to, like his phone screen on his hand was shown, and we could see what time it was filmed at, and he was demanding to see children at a daycare that wasn't open because he was there outside of their operating hours. He's not good at what he does. He didn't help. How did he help? What did he do?
He shed a light on it. He showed the nation we're paying all these tax dollars.
But the law enforcement was already aware of it. We were already investigating. It was already a news story.
They weren't stopping anything.
Reason, how did Nick Nick Shirley find out about it? If it wasn't already a story,
let me get Nick Shirley.
Why did Nick Shirley choose to fly to Minnesota to do this report if it wasn't already a story? Did he have some privileged information?
I don't know what information he had.
Right. The investigations are already happening. He thought, wow, looks like some black people are responsible for some of these crimes. I can probably make a really racist story that's really going to catch wind and get people even more mad at Minnesota. I'm accusing him of doing that. You're not demonstrating to me that he actually did anything that was of journalistic or investigative value. What did he do? How did he help?
He went to another state, another Democratic-ran state, to California, and found a bunch of other examples of doing this.
What did he do?
Then they made a law. They made a law. He shed a light. On the fraud.
No, but what I pointed out is for him to be aware of the issue at all. Somebody else must have shown a light on it, because he didn't come here and do a bunch of investigations and uncover this. Like, he didn't break the story. You understand that, right?
I understand that there was already 76 convictions. I get that.
So what did he do?
Why was it clearly still a thing when he got there, and something so obvious as a layering center with no children and the money keeps going.
You keep saying it, so let's spend some airtime on it. I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to talk about the Leering Center. Let's talk about that, but I'm going to talk about it after I thank Sack Boss for the $5 YouTube super chat. He says, this guy cannot comprehend that other religions contain normal, everyday people. Family values are not specific to Christians. P.S. Religion sucks.
Keep that shit out. Keep that shit in another country. We don't want to hear.
Do you think I belong in another country? I'm a person with family values who's not a Christian. I'm an atheist.
No, we don't want Muslims here.
Okay,
we don't want.
Well, you haven't demonstrated a good reason for why, but let's talk about the fact that that sign said the Leering Center. I don't know who made that mistake.
Oh, because the Somalians in your state that are all Muslim. We don't fucking want them here.
Okay, let's cool it with the Islamophobia. Can we talk? You keep saying Leering Center. Are you interested in hearing my perspectives on the typo that was on that sign?
I'm interested in hearing your leftist. Focus on one small thing, blow it out of proportion. I'll look at the big picture.
It sounds to me like you're focusing on one small thing, this typo on a sign, and blowing it out of proportion.
I want to hear. I want to hear.
Okay.
I want to hear.
Here's why I think that you're blowing that out of proportion. We don't know who made the mistake, right? Like who exactly typed it wrong? Was it the person who requested the sign made? Was it some guy who worked at the sign shop? Like we don't know, right? Because I can admit that if I worked at a daycare and I ordered a sign that said Learning Center and I received it in a box, or I picked it up at the local print shop or whatever I did, and I unrolled it, and I'm a handyman. I've done this type of work. Get up on the ladder, drill some concrete anchors to secure it down with some washers, like whatever we need to do. I might not notice. Like I wouldn't put it past myself to just hang the sign, think I'm sitting there looking at the level, making sure that it's straight. And because I know it's supposed to say Learning Center, I wouldn't be surprised if like some time went by and nobody fucking noticed it. Especially, and this is maybe the thing that you care about, when this is a business that disproportionately serves people for whom English is not their first language. So it's embarrassing. It's a fuck up. It's a gaffe.
Serve anybody.
It's a mistake.
They didn't serve anybody. They were just collecting. They were just putting a attendance sheet in and collecting money, and that's what a bunch of them were doing.
Well, okay, you can say that separately, but that doesn't make it important that there was a typo on the sign, and you keep focusing on the typo on the sign.
I'm not focusing on the typo. I'm focusing on that.
You've brought it up about you've referred to the Leering Center. You've referred to
that's one of many examples.
No,
right?
you don't have more
I'm not
examples.
saying that one small Leering Center.
No, you brought it up half a dozen times. You keep saying the Leering Center. I'm trying to understand why you care so much about this typo on the sign. It's embarrassing. It's a gaffe. It's a fuck up for an educational institution.
So right now,
then why do you keep focusing on it?
So if you're going into these areas and you're seeing one center like that they're saying that they're putting a attendance in for many kids, 80 kids or whatever, and they're collecting a check from the government, and he just found that right there on the street. Then he's going to multiple centers and they're all acting shady. That's telling you that, they were investigating. No, they weren't. They weren't doing anything to stop it until he came and brought national attention.
It feels to me like
it's not just a learning center.
Sir.
It's not just a learning center.
Sir.
I swear it's not the typo. Yes, we fuck up on spelling things sometimes, and we miss.
Why are you saying all this? So just really quick, do you recognize that this is the sort of mistake that any human being might make?
I'm not talking about the Leering Center. I'm talking about the bigger picture, which you fail to understand because you're a fucking leftist.
No, but you're just name calling now. But you kept calling it the Leering Center, so I took the bait and I wanted to have a conversation about it. And now you're just getting upset and you're kind of changing.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going in on the Leering Center and not understanding the bigger picture. That's what you guys do
But
best.
you kept on calling it the Leering Center, which I think is just kind of rude and disingenuous. And I was talking about why, but you're the one who kept bringing it up. You feel it's so important that typo was there. And now that I've pointed out that it's obviously not that important, you're backpedaling and saying it's not important. But you're the reason I'm focusing on it.
It is important. It is a detail. But the bigger picture is that it was happening at a mass level, and your government, your people that you put so much faith in, was overlooking it and saying, we've been investigating it. No, you haven't. Because when you come here and
now you're going back to the previous point, which is that Nick Shirley had something to go on. Somebody told Nick Shirley that it was happening because it was already being investigated. I asked you a very specific question.
I don't know how he got his tip.
You never
I don't know how he got his tip.
Yeah,
but he went there to investigate. That's why you investigate.
What did he do that helped? If he helped the investigation, that suggests to me that he provided law enforcement with information that helped them in the course of their investigations.
That's not what I'm saying.
Then what did he do?
He brought national attention to it.
The national attention to it has caused hate crimes against Muslims, but has not helped the investigation. I think what he did was bad, especially for reasons like I said earlier. What he did in the video was bad. People should not go.
What I said?
People should not go to. People should. I'm talking about what Nick Shirley did. He should not go to daycares and try to get in. He should not encourage people to do that. That's a problem for children's safety. I care a lot more about children's safety.
There were no children in there, so there's no safety.
Do you have proof there were no children at the Leering Center because it wasn't open when Nick Shirley was there trying to get in?
So he was just completely making it up. That Leering, you're telling me that center had multiple people there every day, and they were not fabricating things. Otherwise, you're saying that there was people there every day, but he came in and
I'm saying that Nick Shirley didn't do good enough reporting for me to have good answers to any of these questions. I'm asking you what he did that helped.
All this, why after he came and shed a light on it and everyone's seeing it on social media, they
were already being investigated. He didn't change anything.
But it did, because when he got there,
what he changed is that people are using this more as an excuse to commit hate crimes against Muslims, which is bad. That I see as a change that's happened. They're using it. They're weaponizing it in the same way that you have. You have weaponized this typo on a sign
I'm not weaponizing anything.
But what did he do that helped? If you're concerned about fraud, what did Nick Shirley do that helped reduce fraud? That helped catch the fraudsters? Because I'm just not understanding that. And I'm going to let you think about that for a moment. Take a breath and try to come up with a more coherent answer. While I thank Chihuahua Betch for $5 on YouTube Super Chat. They said, "Wouldn't you expect a world-class investigative journalist to know how at least to pronounce benevolent, let alone what it means?" Yeah, I agree. And actually, Nick Shirley, I would love to have a conversation with you because you're not very good at talking and you would look awful in it. If you think otherwise, you know how to find me. Nick Shirley, you're on the list. Oskar Quentin wants to have a chat with you. I will upload it unedited. Anyway, what did Nick Shirley do that helped?
He used his ability to speak with his freedom of speech to show the American people who pay taxes, federal tax dollars, that massive fraud was going on in Minnesota. Had he not gone there and uploaded the video,
It's fine to do a video on a thing that's being investigated. I'm not going to say that it's necessarily bad for him to do that.
Do you believe that if he never came there, they would have No, you're asking me. I'm saying I don't believe that if he ever came there, your government would have done anything to stop it. They would have. They already were. No. But they weren't really because when they got there, it was still happening at a massive level.
But the investigations were already happening. Like he didn't. You're still not showing me.
How long does it take to investigate? How long does it take to investigate? You guys are submitting these documents for a
long time. Yeah, massive fraud schemes take a long time to investigate because if they jump the gun and press charges too quickly, the charges might get thrown out if they're the wrong one. So sometimes there's a long process in order to make sure that they get caught properly. It's complicated. I don't think that you understand that, and I certainly don't think that Nick Shirley understood that.
I absolutely understand that. I know courts take a long time, but for fraud. They should be looking at all the numbers all the money they're giving out.
What types of things should happen to a person if they commit fraud?
They should absolutely go to jail, give back the money. They should be deported. All your Muslims that you're sticking up for.
Well, I mean, should they be? Wait, what if they were born here? Should they still be deported?
No. They should go to prison.
Okay, so people who commit fraud that should go to prison, right? I just want to make sure I understand your I just want to make sure I understand that your perspective on fraud. Can we just talk about fraud specifically for a moment here?
I didn't even get to finish my point, but yeah.
Well, I'm
going with that.
I do. Okay, so here I'm going to give you an example of me committing some fraud. Like if I wanted to. Let's say I wanted a bank loan to start a business, okay? I'm trying to convince the bank that they should loan me, I don't know, $200,000, right?
We're not going to do the Donald Trump thing. That is not fraud, dude. That is not fraud.
Oh, it's not fraud because he's white. Oh, you didn't fall for it.
Donald Trump bad. I got it.
No, I was going to lay out the things that Trump did. So you don't think it's bad to defraud the bank by fabricating business documents that lie about the value of the property? Excuse me, I wasn't done. Excuse me. Excuse me. I wasn't done asking my question. You don't think it?
Fraud. No, it was not fraud. That's my answer.
I'm going to say for everybody, there's about 500 people watching. Can I explain to them the question that you correctly? I'll give you the W. You know the question I'm about to ask. The 500 people watching don't. Can I ask them my question so that you can then answer it in a way that they understand?
It's your show. When I start talking, you're going to give a shout out to people giving you money anyway. So go ahead.
I'm just trying to make sure they can follow the conversation, dude. Like, there's a reason I'm good at running the show, and it's because I know when the audience is getting lost, and they're getting lost if you cut me off in the way that you are. Can I make sure that the audience knows the question you're answering so that they value and understand your answer?
You got the floor. It's your show.
Okay. Do you think? Well, I'll just ask as an aside. Do you think it is important that the people watching understand you, or are you just focused on me?
No, yeah, they should know you got an audience.
Okay, so think about them in addition to me. Like, I'm an expert on these talking points. I know all these little avenues. I'm not a leftist. I'm a liberal. But anyway, they're not the same thing. The leftists kind of hate my guts for not being a leftist. We could talk about that. But again, that shows that you lack nuance about this. You don't actually understand even what my political perspective is, and you're just saying that I'm, orange man bad, whatever. I don't know, man. You're just hurling these things at me. But the question that I was going to ask is that
I am Fox News. I am.
I think you've regurgitated some talking points that suggest to me that you are taking in some media, and I try not to work in talking points. I try to just understand what's going on in the world and talk the way I feel like talking about things. The question I was going to ask is, you're saying it is not fraud if a person wants a loan from a bank, the bank won't give them a loan unless the property that they're using as collateral for that loan is valuable enough, but the property is not valuable enough. So what they do is they lie about the value of the property by exaggerating its square footage in a document. That's a falsification of a business document in furtherance of a further crime, which is getting a loan for which you don't have the proper collateral. Lying to the bank about the value of your collateral to get a bigger loan is what any reasonable person would call fraud. You're saying that's not fraud?
No, that is fraud.
Okay, that is one of the things that Donald Trump did in order to get a 34 felony count conviction for fraud, for types of fraud. That was one of the types of fraud. There's 34 counts for a bunch of different stuff.
The bank wanted to do the fucking loan, right? He paid it back.
Okay, so yeah, so in my hypothetical, if I lied about the value of my collateral and got $200,000 loaned instead of $100,000, and the business that I was borrowing the money to start was a success, and I paid the money back, I still committed a crime when I lied. If I steal $100 out of your wallet, go and gamble it at the casino, and I win $200 and sneak back and put the $100 back in your wallet before you notice, I'm still a criminal for doing that. You understand that, right?
Well, let me get like 150 and we'll call it even.
No, that's not how it works, because your autonomy matters and there's risk involved. I created risk with your money that you didn't consent to, which makes it a crime. And that's what Trump did.
The bank consented to it.
Under false pretenses, because he lied to them, which was the crime that he was convicted of a felony for.
Didn't it get appealed?
No. I mean, he's going to fight it every step of the way, but the conviction at this time, it is getting appealed. He appeals everything to the very end, and it almost never works. He's convicted of 34 felony counts. Do you really think they're going to get thrown out?
100%. It already got appealed.
So you recognize, let's just be clear, because you've moved the goalpost a little bit. You started by saying what he did wasn't fraud. I described what he did, and you recognize that it is fraud. So just to be clear to everybody listening, you do recognize that one of the crimes for which he was convicted, because there's 34 different things. I could have given a different example for a bunch of those. Some of it had to do with campaign finances and hush money and stuff.
Trump bad. Get it. Got it.
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that the crime that he's convicted of is fraud. You do recognize that, yes?
Nope.
Okay, then we need to go back to the question about whether or not when I steal the $100 out of your bill, out of your wallet, was it still theft even if I return it before you notice?
That's different.
It's exactly the same thing. Borrowing money with collateral that you have lied about the value of is stealing, because in your example where you wanted 100...
If you lied about the square foot, if you lied about the square footage, that's one thing. But if he lied about the value... No, the value was actually...
The value is predicated on the square footage.
About that. No, it's not. It's the value. It's location.
Are you suggesting that the square footage of a property doesn't affect its value?
I'm not suggesting that. I'm suggesting the location is everything. So if it's on
if the location is everything, then the square footage is nothing, which means that yes, you are arguing that the square footage has a nothing effect on the value. You're not making any sense.
You know what I'm saying?
You're not making any sense to me at all.
If you have a house in La Jolla, if it's 1,200 square foot, guess what? That 1,200 square foot is worth more than a 50,000 square foot in the middle of nowhere. Let's put it.
But he didn't lie about where the properties were. He lied about their size. So if you have a 1,200 square foot condo in La Jolla, and I have a 2,400 square foot condo in La Jolla, who has the more valuable condo in La Jolla?
The 2,400 square foot.
Oh, what if I was lying though, and I was telling the bank about my condo in La Jolla, and we're actually neighbors across the hall. We have identical condos.
No, that's just a small thing.
And I get my loan because I lied and said mine was bigger.
So what's his value of his house now? I bet you it's 3 times the value of what he said it was.
I don't think that's relevant to the fact that he lied about its square footage. True or false? The square footage could have been a typo, like the learning center, like you're insisting on. Now you're getting mad about the square footage. No, right? I think if that was the case, I don't think that he would have been convicted.
It's okay for Muslims in mass.
Wait, we're still moving. We're still moving.
It's okay for them to do it, but it's not okay for Donald Trump to do it. It's okay for them to do it. It's not okay for Donald Trump. Got it. Donald Trump, hold him to the higher standard.
I actually specifically said that I want the people who've done what you just said to go to prison. I want them all to go to prison. Trump's the only one that's not going to prison. That's what I'm upset about.
Maybe he made a learning mistake.
Araxis sent me $3 on Cash App just to point out that Trump celebrated having the tallest building after 9/11 because it made him the owner of the tallest building in New York. I think you and him might agree about your attitudes toward 9/11, which is that you're willing to leverage it for personal gain, because you did dunk on me for my relationship with 9/11 in this call, which is pretty reprehensible as an American to do. Michaela sent me $20 on Cash App just to say for message to guests sent to DMs. Ooh, did you send me a...
I don't understand how you could be a left-leaning person. When your
sent a message?
When your father got almost killed and then went crazy, and then it impacted you for the rest of your life.
Wait,
you got PTSD
I found Kayla's message. We can talk about that in just a second, but I'm going to read Kayla's message because she sent me $20 and she's running the show. This is a sponsor at the end of the day. She said, I worked in a heavily Muslim populated community for a while. Most of my coworkers were Muslim and they were more caring and genuine than any other community I'd been in. They cared for their physical and emotional health, including the people they cared about. Me, aside from natural kindness, they were also so utterly freaking normal. They were laughed and joked. They laughed and joked the way anyone does. They had normal emotions and reactions to things. They are people, not some draped statue. I can't imagine you'd actually call yourself Christian if you judge a whole religious group based on the actions of a few, especially when Christian men don't exactly have a clean rep either. Yeah, I agree completely, Kayla.
So they want, how do you say it? Sahara law? They want that shit?
Sharia.
Some states, what the fuck you say it? Doesn't matter. It's not going to happen.
Hold on. I'm not done thanking my donors. Christian on Venmo sent me $20 to say I was at Ground Zero.
Flexing on me.
Well,
That's a
I'm
fucking flex.
just thanking the donors because they run, like, it's kind of the thing on here. You thank the people who send you the money. It's a cheeky little way to advertise that you can go to the link tree in my bio and send me money if you want this show to stay my full-time job. But I do just want to give people what they're paying for, because people know they get a little shout out on the show. It's like what they're paying for. So I just want to do that for them. Can you be patient? Anyway, I was at Ground Zero for 3 weeks in October 2001 as a fire medic pulling out body parts, hundreds and hundreds. I got cancer from it. This guy keeps lumping them all in as terrorists. We fuck with their countries and they respond, diplomacy works. Christian, thank you. Got a real reverence for people who did that work. I'm sitting here bitching about being sick from it just because I lived a couple blocks north of Canal Street and I didn't evacuate because Canal Street was the evacuation line, so... Sorry you got cancer from it, dude. I hope the system has been kind to you since that happened. I know the system's not kind to a lot of people for whom that happens. So, thank you for what you did. Will, one of our mods, sent me $5. He said, to kick dumb and racist Nick. Is this Nick we're talking? I don't know. Well, the show's almost over. I will let him be dumb and racist a little bit longer. Melanie sent me $5 also to say... if guests act like this during a civil debate, he's got to be incredibly unhinged while playing Madden and sucking at it. Yeah, dude. I bet straight up caller, Nicholas, if this is you on a talk show, I'd hate to run into you at the bar. Ooh. Andrea sent me $2 just to say he stole from a children's charity. Why don't you care about that? Yeah, Trump isn't allowed to run charities in New York anymore because he ran charities in New York and he fucking defrauded them. You're defending Trump being a fraudster and you're accusing me of wanting fraudsters to run free when I've literally said multiple times in this call that I want literally everybody who has defrauded the welfare system in Minnesota to go to fucking prison for it. It's such a grievously evil thing to rob a welfare program. Oh my goodness. Like, that's like a rich person taking food out of the like, you know, free food shelf on the street corner because they're too lazy to go to the store. Reprehensible behavior. You should go to the store and put some food into that food shelf. Anyway, Katie says for $2 on YouTube Super Chat, I'm left because fascists want to remove my rights. Yeah. All these Christian nationalists. Sorry, yeah, big pile of donations came in during this call, Nicholas. I'm very sorry to have disrupted it, but one of my mods muted you, it seems, which is why you haven't been interrupting. So I have invited you to unmute. Hello. I think after I invite you, there's a little button you got to click to get it to unmute. Did I click it? Yeah, I've sent it. I may not have clicked it the first time. Are you still there, Nicholas? How's everybody doing? I don't know. He might be having a hard time figuring it out. If you're so stuck figuring it out, you are welcome to leave and come back. I'll select you right away in the queue. Okay, he did leave the moment I said that, so maybe he'll pop back up because I'm not trying to kick him. But what an interesting show it's been. I guess I'll take a moment after reading all those donations out to just say, the show runs on donations. I was able to quit my job, and my last day is this Thursday at my day job. I haven't really been taking shifts for like a month. I've just been running the show, but I didn't want to screw over my coworkers, so I had 6 more days on the schedule. 2 of them were last week, 4 of them are this coming week. So the show, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday this week, will not be at 10 o'clock Central Time. It'll be at 1 o'clock Central Time for about 2 hours, or however long I run it, but it's usually about 2 hours. And then after that, it's going to be 10 to 12 Central Time, indefinitely, it would seem. Maybe until Trump stops being president. I don't know. I got friends who want to go hunting and fishing this summer. I want to do some camping. Maybe I'll take some days off or do some evening shows or something. There are some other things coming. Somebody says that I got a great rec from Pickles. Oh, awesome. I didn't know Pickles shouted me out. That's cool. I like Pickles. Anyway, and his style is very similar to mine, so I'm not surprised that he's giving me the endorsement. You guys should go check out Pickles as well. He's a good commentator. Yeah, what else is there to talk about? More other things to come. There's going to be, not this Sunday, I'm going to try to start it this Sunday, today's Sunday. I'm going to try to get this started by next Sunday, 1 week from today. I'm going to add an evening stream, Sunday evening sometime. There'll be a time announced for that, and it's not going to be a debate stream. It's going to be a place for all the friendly calls and FAQs and maybe some news coverage, but I'm also working on maybe getting a news bulletin posted to my Instagram daily. That's a new idea I have. I got to get back on the Discord. Thanks everybody for running the Discord without me. I've been too busy to be on there so much lately, so I need to get back in there and dig through everybody's messages about all the cool stuff we've been working on over there. But yeah, I'm trying to leverage the platform I have to do good, and part of me doing that is I need to keep it growing, so I have to be entertaining and I have to make money doing it, so I have to do all this capitalist, not so fun stuff, but the show isn't successful if I'm not entertaining, and the show's certainly not going to be successful if I can't pay my bills. So I have to encourage those sorts of things. But I do think we've had some productive conversations today. I'm going to accuse the previous caller of running because he's not back, and I don't know. I think we were in a really tight pattern of him having reasonable conversation with me until I'm accusing him here. I think a couple times he realized he probably wasn't being very reasonable, and you could hear that in the tone of his voice. Stay Hydrated said, I'm so happy I found you. Oh, where did it go? The message went away. Stay hydrated. Make your message again. I'll read it in the chat. Ravens Blossom unpinned it just the moment I started reading it. L mods. No, W mods. W mods in the chat for running the show. Seriously, I get to do this for a living, and I feel like I'm making a difference. I mean, I know I'm making a difference for some people because it happens sometimes with the caller, but so many people message me and say that I'm making a difference in their lives. I'm giving them the tools to have these difficult conversations in their lives. And the number of people who follow me on Instagram is getting pretty big, and some of them are kind of important people, and that's exciting. Oh, there's a timer for pinned comments. Stay hydrated. I'm very sorry I missed your message. Hopefully you get to make it again. Stay Hydrated has donated before, so I'm definitely going to try to prioritize those messages. I'm getting to the point where it's getting a little bit out of hand, me keeping up with all the messages, but, there are ways to support that keep you in touch for not very much. Thanks, everybody, for watching. I'll see you guys tomorrow, not at 10 Central. I'll see you at 1 p.m. Central, because I'm working until noon tomorrow. Anything else? I'm trying to feel like there's something I should have said. No, I'm just rambling at this point. You guys have a lovely day. Today was a good stream. I'll see you tomorrow.